home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They've got him again!
Sixers.
Bang! It's good! Ball game!
And Flyers.
Tip in front of the net!
97.3 ESPN. WENJ. WENJ HD. Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey.
Isn't it about time for somebody's favorite radio program? Yeah.
97.3 ESPN presents The Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
When I'm driving, I got a guy on the radio who talks to me. I can't see him, but he talks to me.
Now, live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort Studio, here's Mike Gill.
We got to go prepare. Obviously, played these guys earlier in the season. They gave us all we could handle, so it's going to be a big challenge for us. We're going to be at their place. It's a tough place to play. We're going to have to go handle our business and play a really solid football game. And playoff football, for the most part, man, you play two good teams, go at it, and a lot of times it comes down to something late, and hopefully we can be on the right side of things.
That was Matthew Stafford after the Rams dominate the Minnesota Vikings last night, as heard here on 97.3 ESPN. And now it is the rematch. For the second straight week, the Eagles are rematching with a team that they played earlier in the year. We'll get into all of that the next 4 hours. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. Of course, we are live here in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios of Atlantic City. The opening line was 6 for this game this weekend. Is it possible that everything is falling into place for the Philadelphia Eagles? We got that on tap, plus an Eagles player gives insights on his teammate A.J. Brown and his reading. Also, we'll get into the loss of Nakobe Dean, how that could impact this playoff run. And, of course, you guys, I want to hear from you. Eagles-Rams round 2, your feelings on the game. Are you happy that it's the Rams? Did you want to see somebody else? Let me know. 609-403-0973 is the text board. Your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle and streaming live on my YouTube channel at Josh Hennig. All right, here's the rundown of the guests for the show before we dig deeper into the Eagles-Rams first look at the matchup. Kevin Kinkead from Crossing Broad joined the show in less than 30 minutes from now. Kevin's going to join us because we haven't had a chance to really talk about, all of this Eagles stuff, all this Eagles conversation going on. But this news of the Sixers changing their arena, it almost feels like I felt like yesterday's press conference was purposely scheduled to be kicked down the attention because of the Eagles winning. And of course, the press conference to me is a distraction, pay attention to the right hand, not the left hand kind of deal with the Sixers, who are a losing team. And of course, Kevin Kinkead is covering all of it right now over at Crossing Broads. He'll join us in less than 30 minutes from now. At 3 o'clock, we will be joined by John McMullen, of course, Jacob Media, Eagles Insider, Birds 365. We are doing a bit of a swapperoo in the 4 o'clock hour. Knicks Nuggets is at 4, and then Adam Caplan from the Inside the Birds podcast is at 4:30. And then the football scientist Casey Joyner will join us coming up at 5 o'clock. One thought every game, and our first look with Casey at Eagles-Rams. So, how are you guys feeling about the matchup? First thoughts, Eagles-Rams this Sunday. Mel Reese, Mike Quick calling all the action here on 97.3 ESPN. I got to tell you guys, I do genuinely feel like this was the perfect scenario. This was the matchup that I think if you are an Eagles fan, you wanted. You want the Rams. The Vikings presented a unique obstacle. but it was a unique obstacle that the Rams were perfectly suited to deal with. Just like how the Buccaneers created a unique obstacle for you, but the Washington Commanders were uniquely equipped to deal with. You have now had 2 straight days of primetime games where underdogs did the Eagles a favor. The Rams were the betting underdog in the game last night. By the way, I told you guys to pick the Rams, so hopefully some of you guys listen to my advice here on 97.3 ESPN. The Commanders, they took out the Bucs. So now there are 2 less teams that, in my perspective, you're worried about. Now, I'm not belittling what the Rams have to offer because, honestly, as Mike Gill and I talked about last week here on the Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN, we said that Matthew Stafford is one of the better quarterbacks in these playoffs, and you saw a little bit of that last night when Stafford is able to get some time to throw, when he has time to work his team down the field, he can pick you apart. And the Vikings did a horrible job at trying to get Stafford off of his spot. Now, earlier this year, when the Eagles played the Rams, we did see the Eagles defense get them in those matchups. It's something to wonder, though. Do we look at the rematch as a problem? Do we look at the rematch as an issue? Because realistically, when you go back and look at that game, you realize that Philadelphia actually did a very good job at slowing down the Rams' offense. Now, if you want to ask the question, can they replicate that? Is that something that they can run it back and say, we are going to do the same thing again to the Rams? It's a good question. You know, Sean McVay is arguably the best coach left in the NFC playoffs. The 4 coaches right now, Dan Quinn, Sean McVay, Dan Campbell, Nick Sirianni. Sean McVay is the only coach left in the NFC bracket who has been to not 1 but 2 Super Bowls. So he is a very, very experienced coach. But Sean McVay is also the coach who has said that Vic Fangio is the toughest defensive coordinator for him to game plan for. So it's kind of like a balancing act. It's kind of the idea that on one hand, the Eagles have experience, they have the tools to beat the Rams, but the Rams still present a huge obstacle. And that obstacle to me is the quarterback, Matthew Stafford. And later today, for our Who's Hot, Who's Cold segment, I'm going to re-rank the quarterbacks who are left in the playoffs. Mike Gill and I did this last week here on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on a Tuesday afternoon. I think Stafford is in that conversation for scary quarterbacks. I really do. To me, Stafford is one of those quarterbacks who he just worries you because you know how talented he is. You know how gifted he is. You know that this is a guy who is the leader among all active quarterbacks in fourth quarter comeback wins. He is a guy with 2 minutes left in the game and a tie game. You are sweating bullets. Now, the reason why Philadelphia was able to win the game 2 months ago was because they ran the ball. They played keep away from the Rams offense. They said, we have Saquon Barkley. We are not going to let you take advantage of us. And as Dominique Foxworth said this morning on ESPN's Get Up, what you saw the Rams do yesterday is probably not something you can see them do against the Eagles this Sunday.
This young Rams defense has matured and gotten better. The problem is the way that they won this most recent game was with a dominant front. nobody's dominating the Eagles up front. No. The Eagles are the dominant front. They are the ones who knock. When they want to run the ball, they run the ball. The Rams are going to have to figure out a way to stop that run and force Eagles into like drop back passing situations to allow them to eat. The problem is the Eagles never really, because how good their defense is and how good their rushing attack is, they're rarely put into situations where they must drop back.
It's a couple of interesting points there from Dominique Foxworth I want to hit on before we get to the text board at 609-403-0973. And that is, he talks about how, hey, the Rams' defensive front has gotten better. The Rams' defensive front has evolved. And he clearly said there, he's like, look, unless you're going to force the Eagles to stop running the ball, but no team's been able to do that. So if no team has been able to do to the Eagles what they're suggesting is the way to beat the Eagles, how do the Eagles lose this game? How does a team that is already a 6-point favorite at some of the sports books going to lose a game that they are expected to win? Well, it's the same way Philadelphia lost earlier this year. When Philadelphia shoots themselves in the foot, they lose games. They self-imploded at the end of the Falcons game. The defense completely choked. Vic Fangio took responsibility for it. Saquon Barkley drops the ball. If either one of those goes differently, they win the game. Washington Commanders should have lost to the Eagles on December 22nd. But when C.J. Gardner-Johnson got kicked out of the game because he couldn't control his temper and his attitude, he already had one unsportsmanlike conduct flag thrown on him. Once he left the game, the Commanders scored 22 points. So if you don't, for lack of a better term, not do your job, Philadelphia is borderline unbeatable. Meanwhile, the Rams are a team, let's be realistic, the Rams are a team that they won the NFC West because the NFC West basically, one, beat up on each other, and two, the 49ers were so injured this year, they never had a chance. Now, some of you might point to the fact that, well, the Rams have lost one game since their loss to Philadelphia. And that was the last game of the year when they really weren't trying that hard. And that is true. But look at the teams they beat along that stretch. A bad Saints team, a very injured 49ers team, a pitiful Jets team. Not impressed. Now, if you want to say the Bills win is impressive, sure, but you beat them 44-42. Do you think for 1 minute Philadelphia is going to allow the Rams to score 40 points in a game in order to beat them? Of course not. The Eagles are the second best scoring defense in all of football. Philadelphia actually has only allowed 29 or more points 3 times this year. One of them, I told you, C.J. Gardner-Johnson got kicked out of the game. The second one, the Buccaneers took advantage of a very injured Eagles team down in Tampa when it was 100-plus degrees. And the third game was the first game of the year when they allowed 29 points to the Packers. When Philadelphia played the Rams earlier this year, they kept them to 20 points. Philadelphia has a winning formula right now, says Jeff Saturday on ESPN's Get Up. And the expectation, at least for Saturday, and he repeated the same thing earlier today on Joe Fortenball's show on ESPN Radio, about how the Eagles had a game plan on Sunday, and they can replicate some of that in this Sunday's game.
You think about the Eagles and what the game plan they just instituted last week, it's going to be a lot of the same, right? Start this way. Don't drop Jalen Hurts back the way they did Sam Darnold. If you think about the way the Vikings have played all season, they are a throw-the-football team. And you saw it against Detroit. You saw it last week. So they can't run the ball. The Eagles are going to start with the run. They're going to stay with the run until you force them not to run, which no team, truthfully, has been able to do this season.
So what are you guys thinking? Are we being too confident in the Eagles? Are we underestimating the Rams? Let's check in on the text board. 609-403-0973. Shaner and EHT is first to start us off on the text board. He says, the Rams worry me. McVay will make adjustments. He is no fool. We ran all over them last time. Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua are dangerous as well. But we did best them quite soundly at Los Angeles. I just need to see a bit more from Hurts or we fear we could be out. But Saquon having success again is where I'm leaning. AJ needs more than 3 targets. Nervous, Shaner and EHT. Well, a couple things there. One, you are right. McVay will make adjustments. But again, if Vic Fangio is the most difficult person for McVay to go against, how many adjustments is he really going to be able to make if Philadelphia is able to dictate in the trenches? Remember, the Rams don't have a great offensive line. Philadelphia, with Jalen Carter, got a lot of pressure on Stafford in that game. They were able to force the Rams out of what they wanted to do. Remember, that final touchdown at the end of the game, that final score is completely different. That was a garbage time. You fantasy football owners got your Cooper Kupp, Matthew Stafford touchdown at the end of the game. That was realistically a 34-14 game last time. That was actually a very dominant performance for the Eagles defense, for they played soft coverage at the end of the game. Well, what happened in that game? Milton Williams had 3 quarterback hits. That was the last time Brandon Graham had a big game. But guess who else had a big game that day? Nolan Smith. Milton Williams, Nolan Smith, still here. Why did Nolan Smith and Milton Williams have great games? Because Jalen Carter was blowing up that D-line. He was forcing them to double and triple team him. In fact, by the end of that game, Philadelphia had, you ready for this? 11 quarterback hits. They put Stafford body on quarterback. They hit Stafford 11 times in the game. And you say, well, there's no Brandon Graham, Josh. Fine. 8 times. 8 times is still a lot. That is actually more than you just hit Jordan Love. You hit Jordan Love 5 times this past week. So Philadelphia has shown you that they can get to the quarterback. So I'm not as concerned about the Stafford and the offense and the stuff Shannon EHT because I know what Philadelphia can do. Now, to your other point about Jalen Hurts, this gets back to the chicken or the egg conversation we had yesterday here on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on a Tuesday afternoon. Shannon and EHT, who do we blame more for the game on Sunday? Is it the quarterback or is it the play caller? Now, I tend to blame the play caller because I'm a big believer that unless your name is Peyton Manning or Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes, even Mahomes to an extent, it's a little bit of a smoke and mirrors deal. Unless you are one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, you are basically running the plays you're told to run. Jalen Hurts not out there running his own offense. So Kellen Moore is in his ear. And I thought this comment from Dan Orlovsky on yesterday's Get Up was very eye-opening. Because he talked about the problem that Jalen Hurts had versus the Packers defense on Sunday.
I thought Jalen Hurts didn't look rusty at all. My biggest concern is, how does it look like Green Bay knew what every pass play was? How does it look like Green Bay knew exactly what the pass concept was going to be? How does it look like Green Bay knew exactly where the receivers were going to be on a consistent basis? My mind, after I watched that tape, wasn't, man, Jalen Hurts struggled. I actually thought Jalen Hurts played well. My mind went to Kellen Moore.
So it's chicken or the egg, right? It's, do you blame the quarterback or you got to blame the guys calling the plays? So that's kind of like the rub there, Shaner. It's, if you think Hurts needs to play better, then how much of it is Hurts? How much of it is the play caller? You know, Dallas Goedert had a really good game on Sunday. So are we supposed to believe that, just because A.J. Brown only got 3 targets, that the whole offense went to, what? Went bad? I think you're right, though. Saquon probably is going to have success again versus the Rams in a game like this. Josh on the Parkway chimes in at 609-403-0973. Says, I was hoping for the Rams. Imagine, though, as it's a long shot, but the Commanders beat the Lions. The championship game is in Philly once we beat the Rams. Josh on the Parkway. Well, it's not a long shot for two reasons. One, because might I bring you back to the 2017 Eagles? Again, I'm doing the deja vu conversation here. Remember the 2017 Eagles when they played the Vikings in the conference championship game? Most experts did not expect them to be facing the Vikings in that game. Remember the quote-unquote miracle play for Case Keenum to Stephon Diggs that won the Vikings the game versus the Saints? There were a lot of people who were picking the Saints to beat the Vikings in that game. Now, I know it's a little different because that year the Saints were 11-5, the Vikings were 13-3. So the Vikings should have been the favored team, but a lot of people were picking the Saints. But still, that Saints team was a team that people expected to make a deep playoff run because they were one of the best offenses in football. They had a great defense, did the Saints that year. But then when they got the miracle play, if you're an Eagles fan like myself, you were saying, thank you, Vikings, for taking out the Saints. Bring on the Vikings because we can beat you. So I don't think it's far-fetched, Josh, on the Parkway. We've seen this happen before. We have seen underdogs win in this postseason. We have seen teams who you need to play Philadelphia come along and play you. Look, you've already gotten two things to go your way. Commanders take out the Bucs. Rams take out the Vikings. So why can't the Commanders beat the Lions? The Lions' defense stinks. Okay? The Lions' defense got trampled by a Buffalo Bills team just a few weeks ago. And I think that we saw last night the real reason why the Lions' defense dominated the Vikings 2 weeks ago is because if you bring pressure on Sam Darnold, he starts seeing ghosts. It's just who he is. I think the Commanders create a specific problem for the Lions, and that is they are playing with no pressure at all. They already got their first playoff win in, 20 years ago, basically, when they weren't even the Washington Commanders back then. They were the Washington Redskins still. So, sure, Josh, on the Parkway, I don't see it being far-fetched at all. Let's squeeze in one more text for you at the break at 609-403-0973. Dan in EHC chimes in and says, my concern is the Rams are inspired because of the Galilee fires. Will they also get the refs on their side? Well, the refs thing, there's not much you can do about that, okay? I'm not going to play into the ref thing because I've always taken the position that officiating in football is bad everywhere, okay? Officiating is always going to be poor. It just is what it is. But I do think that their win yesterday was a byproduct of them basically going out there and they won the game for the Gipper yesterday. You can't win the game for the Gipper twice. You know, after 9/11, the Yankees got to the World Series, but when the nostalgia wore off, the Arizona Diamondbacks beat them in the World Series. You know, Hurricane Katrina was a horrible situation in New Orleans, and the Saints had a wonderful season that year. But they didn't win a championship that year. The emotions wear off. When the adrenaline dump is gone, what are you at the end of the day? Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN being brought to you by Autumn Lake Healthcare Centers, skilled nursing rehabilitation with elite care in a warm environment, vibrant atmosphere. Visit autumnlakehealthcare.com to find a location near you. We'll continue the Philadelphia sports conversation next with Kevin Kinkead from Crossing Broad, as well as your text a little bit later this hour. Keep them coming in, 609-403-0973. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on a Tuesday afternoon, filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
Wake up weekday mornings from 6 to 10 a.m. with Unsportsmanlike on 97.3 ESPN with Evan Cohen, Super Bowl champion Chris Canty, and Michelle Small.
Can't wake up without it.
Brought to you by the Gallery Bar Book and Games at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City.
Cooper's our new neighbor down the shore.
Introducing Cooper University Hospital, Cape Regional.
Healthcare is going to improve in Cape May County.
We're excited to bring our award-winning care to our new neighbors in Cape May and Atlantic counties. You'll have greater access to top specialists, advanced technology, innovative treatments, and outstanding cancer care at MD Anderson Cancer Center at Cooper. Cooper University Healthcare.
Extraordinary happens here.
What's better than one win? 3 wins. With Straight Savings, you keep your own phone, get one line for only $25 a month with real unlimited data, and get rewarded with a $200 phone credit after 12 months. It's a win-win-win. Head to Walmart or visit straighttalk.com today. Switch to Straight Talk. Less dollars, more sense. Straight Savings Plan enrollment requires compatible unlocked device and new line of service. Bonus device credit requires 12 months of active service. Offer ends if eligibility requirements are no longer met. Taxes and fees apply. For network management practices, see Straight Talk's terms and conditions.
Breaking news coming in from Bet365. We're S5. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus only. Must be physically located in New Jersey.
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The key ingredient is something called Tesnor, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again, at work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text LION to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast, absolutely free. Text LION to 42424. That's LION to 42424.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million+ products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Score a touchdown when you bank with Jersey Shore Federal Credit Union. Catch lower rates on loans and higher rates on savings. You'll cheer when you don't have to pay a penny to get your own money, since they offer 85,000 surcharge-free ATMs. Get the details or open an account online with just a $25 minimum deposit at JerseyShoreFCU.org. Or swing to a branch in Northfield, Galloway, Hamilton, or Rio Grande. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
Progressive knows finding your new home was a dream come true. You wanted a colonial with high ceilings, hardwood floors, and a peaceful neighborhood. And you found it. Now, every Saturday at 6 a.m., you get to wake to the sound of your neighbor's leaf blower. Progressive can't save you from your noisy neighbors, but we can save you money when you bundle your home and auto with us. Get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
Shop now at the Home Depot and get up to 35% off select appliances. Plus, save up to an extra $400 on select appliances like Frigidaire. From the stainless steel French door refrigerator with crisp steel drawers to keep produce fresh longer, to the 5-burner electric range that lets you cook more at once and get meals on the table faster. Right now, get up to 35% off select appliances like Frigidaire. The Home Depot. How doers get more done. Pricing valid January 9th through January 29th. U.S. only. See store online for details and minimum purchase required.
With GMF financing to qualified buyers, excludes Traverse and Corvette, excludes prior sales.
Start the new year right in a new Chevy from Bennett, where we sell new Chevys at the true GM supplier employee price. Yeah, you pay what our employees pay, not a penny more. Plus, at Bennett Chevrolet, you keep all the rebates. That's incredible. That's right, you save both ways, saving you up to 20% off the sticker. But it gets even better, because right now there's available 0.9% financing, saving you even more. 0.9. And get this, if you're looking for a pre-owned, Bennett Chevy will pay you a minimum $10,000 for any old clunker you can get here towards any pre-owned in stock. You'll get at least 10 grand for total junk. Imagine how much you'll get for a good trade. And one more thing, Bennett's sales team is paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. That makes a huge difference. No hype, no pressure. Together, let's drive. Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Keeping the fans entertained and happy.
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
2:31 here on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on a Tuesday afternoon. I literally just forgot what day it was for a moment. It's a bad job by me. I should remember what day it is because thanks to last night's win, the Eagles now have a second straight week of a rematch in the NFL playoffs. Of course, you hear the game this Sunday. Merrill Reese, Mike Quick calling all the action here on 97.3 ESPN. A man who will be very keenly tuned in to that game, as well as covering all the fiasco, otherwise known as the Philadelphia 76ers over at Crossing Broad, is Kevin Kinkead joining us here on 97.3 ESPN. Kevin, welcome in. I had to get somebody from WVU to be on this radio show. How's it going?
Good, man. Well, yeah, what's Gill doing? Is he taking vacation while the Eagles season is still going on?
He's on his way to Thailand right now.
Oh, come on.
I'm not joking at all. This has been a topic for a couple of weeks now. Like everyone has been ripping him for the fact that him and his girlfriend booked this vacation like almost a year and a half ago, and now it falls into what's potentially an Eagles Super Bowl run.
Why does he need to take vacation anyway? Doesn't he only work like 4 hours a day?
Listen, man, I don't get involved in these. These are above my pay grade, okay?
Well, I'll tell you what, Thailand is no Philadelphia. I'll give you that much.
No, it's not. I think that's an interesting point you just brought up, because I think that what Matthew Stafford said after the game last night, he said, oh, yeah, it's going to be a really tough place to play. Well, we're going to do our best. And, it's one thing to say that, Kevin, but you and I both know that Philadelphia is not going to let up if the Eagles get any lead on the Rams on Sunday.
Well, I mean, he would know because he's played in front of a Philadelphia crowd once before this season. So he should be more familiar than anybody. And if I remember correctly, that was the game where the refs called like two ridiculous DPIs in the end zone or like close to in the red zone, in the end zone, where that game looked a lot closer on paper than it really was. I remember writing that, like the lead paragraph was something like, the Eagles defeated the Rams and the refs and their zebra allies on Sunday night. So I'm not going to sit here and act like that's the same Rams team that the Eagles are playing this weekend. But the Eagles are playing at home. They've got Saquon Barkley and the Rams don't, and they've beaten this team once already this year. So if the Eagles come out and play the game that we know they're capable of playing, then this should be a pretty clear-cut game in my mind.
Isn't it a little bit weird to you that we have now had multiple teams do Philadelphia favors already? I mean, Washington took out the Bucs, so that helped Philadelphia. And then the Rams take out the Vikings. Those are the two teams I think most people were worried about, and you had underdogs take them both out. It's like, thank you very much. Here's a fruit basket.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I don't know how much momentum that Vikings team had going into the playoffs to begin with. I don't know. I can only speak for myself. I don't know how many Sam Darnold true believers there were out there, regardless of what that record said I think, we would be lying to ourselves as Eagles fans if we didn't kind of admit that we've sort of been eyeing that Lions matchup in the NFC Championship game. Not to put the cart before the horse, but not saying that that's an automatic, but I think people had been hoping for that and want to see that matchup. Then along the way, Jaden Daniels and the Commanders come along, and they're kind of annoying, and maybe you want to kind of get around them and not have to play them. So, look, on paper, if you told me a couple weeks ago that the playoff path would include the Packers and the Rams to get to the NFC Championship game, I think we all would have agreed that was a great thing, because you've beaten both of those teams before and you feel comfortable with both of those teams. And, regardless of what you think about Jalen Hurts in the passing game, if the defense plays the way that they did on Sunday, that's a 2022 Eagles defense. That's a 2017 Eagles defense. That's a Jim Johnson 2004 Eagles defense. And if that side of the ball is playing as well as they are, they can beat anybody.
You just said something about the Eagles offense. I want to ask you about that. Kevin Kinkead from Crossing Broad joining us here on 97.3 ESPN. One of the conversations we had yesterday it's kind of like the chicken or the egg argument. Who are we blaming more? Are we blaming the quarterback, or are we blaming the play caller who's giving the plays to the quarterback? Because let's be realistic. Some people like Dan Orlovsky on TV are saying, I blame Kellen Moore. Other people are saying, no, I blame the quarterback Hurts for the whole, hey, I have 6 straight completions and then 7 straight incompletions.
What were our expectations for him in this game, right? He hadn't played in 2.5 weeks, and he was coming off a concussion, right? And for most of the season, when they ripped off that big winning streak, he was not asked to throw the ball, right? He was doing a couple things with his feet, and Saquon Barkley ran them to victory, and the defense did what they do on that side. So, I think we're kind of like framing the entire story a little oddly here, because I don't think, if you're doing what you're doing that has won this team a lot of games already this year, then Jalen Hurts doesn't have to throw for 200 yards, right? Would it be nice if they could get everything clicking at the same time? Sure, but during that win streak, he was only throwing the ball like 21 times, 22 times on average. He had a string of games where he was throwing for fewer than 200 yards, and as much as you'd like to see A.J. Brown get the ball more and Devontae Smith get the ball more, I don't think they have to do that to win. Now, to answer the question, I do think that Kellen Moore can put them in a better position, right? There's some stuff from the game the other night where it looked like the old 4 verticals of 2023, where Hurts was scrambled for his life and nobody was open. And so I just like to see them, Josh, get back to like some of the easy bread and butter stuff. Throw that slant to A.J. Brown. Get Dallas Goedert on some short stuff over the middle, 3 to 4 yards. Easy tosses and completions. Hit Devontae Smith for 5 to 10 yards. Not everything has to be an intermediary route or a go ball or something like that. There's some easy completions that they can use to get them going, and you'd like to see that early against the Rams.
Yeah, I'm just the kind of person, Kevin, where I feel like, at my age, I can remember Buddy Ryan, then Rich Kotite, and then Ray Rhodes, and then Andy Reid, and Chip Kelly, and Doug Peterson, Nick Sirianni. It's like Eagle fans have always been critical of coaches. I feel like the only time I've heard them not be critical is this year. Like, when did Kellen Moore and his dopey face all of a sudden become like infallible of criticism? I feel like there's so many Eagle fans who would love to blame Hurts and criticize him, where I think there's multiple times this year where Kellen Moore has not had good play calls. Doesn't he write the script to start the game? Like, shouldn't that be part of the criticism? Like, hey, you had slow starts to games this year. It's Kellen Moore.
Well, when they started 2-2, the criticism that would normally go to the offensive coordinator and the play caller in that, in that regard was given to Nick Sirianni instead. People blamed him for his perception that he was interfering, and trying to put his stamp on the game. And, you remember early on there were some quotes where he was coming out and taking responsibility, saying, I made that play call, or I made this decision, or whatever. And so for the longest time, we weren't totally sure what the split was of, what Nick was getting himself involved in versus what Kellen Moore is calling. But, regardless, they know what works, it's still, I think if you sat 100 Eagles fans down and said, what do they need to do? What should the game plan be for this LA matchup, right? I think 99 out of 100 would say you got to establish the run with Saquon and you got to play good defense, right? So, you can't say that you can't game plan for one thing and prioritize one thing and then complain about the other facet of the offense not being good enough when you've said that that's not as important anyway. You know what I'm saying? It's like having your cake and eating it too. You know, if Saquon's going to run for 125 yards and 2 touchdowns, then why are we complaining about, A.J. Brown targets? Because, A.J. Brown targets come at the expense of Saquon touches. You know what I mean? They come at the expense of Jalen being able to do things with his feet. So they're not always going to win the way that we want them to win. But what's more important than anything is that they win.
Kevin Kinkead from Crossing Broad joining us here on 97.3 ESPN. Your coverage at Crossing Broad, I really appreciated it yesterday because of the fact, Kevin, and you guys do a great job over there every day, but aside from that is the fact that, because of the Eagles winning, this Sixers stuff has been kind of pushed to the proverbial back page, and it was very convenient that they had this press conference yesterday because it's like, Eagles win, and it's like, oh, by the way, we're going to talk about how this whole Sixers arena project has been basically flushed down the toilet, and we got a new plan for everybody.
Yeah, that was crazy, wasn't it? I mean, for 2.5 years basically of that story going, evolving from, the Sixers versus Chinatown to the Sixers and Comcast killing each other to, the whole waiting for the impact studies to drop, and then the whole song and dance with City Council itself, where
right.
Chinatown protesters are getting handcuffed on and hauled out of City Hall, and I'm like, you're gonna tell me that after all of that, they're just gonna pivot and say, well, we're going to stay here, and we're going to partner with Comcast. But it was interesting to me, man, because I'm like kind of pouring it through my head, and you go through all the tinfoil hat conspiracies, and you start to try to think about, well, what really happened here? And I think the thing that's most interesting to me is that at one point, man, I didn't think the relationship, I should say, between Comcast and the Sixers was salvageable at all. I mean, they were killing each other behind the scenes. And I don't know how much was really reported on that. We dabbled in it a little bit, tried to give people an idea of, how bad this really is behind the scenes. But, I mean, publicly, too, though, man, you saw, just like we all did, where, the Wells Fargo Center Twitter account was, killing the Sixers, and then David Edelman was killing Comcast back and forth. They really did not like each other. So my theory is that, at some point, maybe early 2024, I'm not, totally sure about the timeline, but I think Brian Roberts on the Comcast side kind of, came in and said, you know what, all right, let's knock it off. Let's stop killing each other, in public here, and let's act like professionals. And at some point, I think at the very top, I'm talking Brian Roberts and Josh Harris and David Blitzer, I think they came together and said, look, we need to make this relationship work. And whether or not something else changed on the Sixers side, I can't tell you for sure, but the reason that the relationship was able to be mended is because they kind of decided to knock it off. But, maybe we'll get more on some late reason for why the Sixers pivoted. But yeah, it's going to be that true 50-50, I think, that people thought was unattainable at one point.
How much do you think the speculation of, Adam Silver and the other commissioners getting involved? I mean, there was that report initially on Sunday morning that, Adam Silver and Roger Goodell and Rob Manfred all got involved. And it's like, I have trouble seeing Roger Goodell getting involved in, this. You know what I mean? How much do you think outside forces impacted this?
Yeah, and I don't think that Roger Goodell was involved necessarily. I think because a meeting between Adam Silver and the Sixers and Comcast took place at the Commanders Stadium. From my understanding, I think Roger Goodell was just sort of there. I don't know how much he was actually involved in the talking to both sides or whatever.
Right.
But Adam Silver obviously was. I mean, one of my favorite conspiracy theories that's going around is that Brian Roberts dangled the TV rights, the NBA TV rights deal over their head and leveled some threat or something like that. I have no idea if that's true or not, but that's kind of the popular. If we were ranking conspiracy theories right now, that would be number one, that Brian Roberts started throwing his weight around, and then the Sixers capitulated, but they were able to leverage Comcast for what they wanted in the process. But I mean, Josh Harris is on the record saying that what I've heard behind the scenes is that it really was a late pivot, and they really didn't come back to the table with Comcast until, what's today, January 14th. So maybe like 6 to 7 weeks ago, I think. So, I mean, for people who are out there saying like, oh, this is always a con from the beginning. No, it wasn't. I mean, like Market Street was very real. And then the New Jersey thing was just like leverage and a plan B to fall back on if everything went to hell. But no, they did not spend like tens of millions of dollars and get themselves killed publicly just to create some elaborate smoke screen so they could just go back to their landlord in the first place. They could have just done that from the beginning.
So now that we are moving forward, as we'll call it, and everyone is supposedly getting along now, at least for the moment, what do you think is going to happen next? Because obviously, they actually have to build this thing now, right? And are they going to build it in time for the lease to be up? Is this going to be some sort of, is it truly going to be a joint venture, or is it going to eventually be, more of the Sixers venture? Like, what do you think is next here, Kevin?
What's next is that the Phillies, the Flyers, and the Sixers all sit down with the Eagles, and they say, are you with us, or are you going to do your own thing? Because that's the last piece to the puzzle. I don't know if people really are aware of this, but the Eagles lease is coming up around the same time as this new joint arena is set to be built. So the new arena target date is kind of like 2031. They can build it sooner, though, and the reason for that is that now that they're partners on the new arena, they don't have to see out the Sixers lease until 2031, right? Comcast can throw out that lease and say, we can get this new building done by 2030, and they can open it then. But the Eagles only have, I think 8 more years or 9 more years left at Lincoln Financial Field. And, the development that they want to do in South Philly is this big mixed-use thing, kind of like the Battery in Atlanta, where you can have, restaurants and, bars and, throw a Bath and Body Works in there. I don't know, stores and whatever, right? So, but if you ask the Eagles, do they want that? No, not really, because they only have 10 to 12 home games a year, depending on how good the team is. And if they go into the playoffs, and what's important to them is parking and the tailgating and culture, and maybe getting a roof over that stadium so they can have a Super Bowl or another WrestleMania or something like that. So the Eagles' wants and needs are fundamentally different from the other 3 teams. So what they decide to do, pivoting, by the way, off of the World Cup being here next year, I don't know if the Eagles try to go down to the Navy Yard or build another stadium or just renovate the link and put a roof on it or something. But Comcast and HBSE and the Phillies have to get with the Eagles and just get everybody together and understand what they want to do, and then they can kind of go from there.
Well, the Eagles are in the middle of a Super Bowl run, so they're going to have to wait, basically. So I think if we know anything about the Eagles, Kevin, the Eagles work on Eagles time. How many times have we seen over the years, hey, the press conference is supposed to start at this time, and then the head coach, whether it's Doug Peterson, Nick Sirianni, Chip Kelly, Andy Reid, they're 10, 20 minutes late. Eagles work on Eagles time, right?
That's very true. No, that's a good line, man. I mean, it's funny because they haven't done – they're the only team that has not done any press about any of this, about what their future is. Obviously we know the Sixers and Flyers. The Phillies joined with the Sixers and the Flyers, so they're going to be part of that too. Philadelphia Union down in Chester, they've outlined their plans for the waterfront down there as well. So that's 4 of 5 teams that we know exactly what they're going to do. The Eagles, I think the only thing that the Eagles have said on the record about it was Jeffrey Lurie answered a question where he basically said, we're keeping an eye on the situation and we're going to see what happens. And that's basically it. I mean, they really haven't tipped their hand one way or another. But obviously Lincoln Financial Field is going to host the World Cup in a couple of years. I think that's going to be a showcase for them to say, hey, look at the big event potential down here, and imagine what it could be moving forward.
Although we do know they just got an influx of cash thanks to signing a little bit of that minority stake. So,
yeah, and I mean, if you want to, I took the tinfoil hat off after the last quote, but I can put it back on and say, well, why do you need money?
Right.
Maybe you'll want to. Maybe you're going to start exploring building your own thing. I don't know. It's funny because people always say well, the link's not that old. Well, it's 20 years old. I mean, the average shelf life for a stadium these days is 30, 35-ish. I think that when the Wells Fargo Center 2031, by the time they get this new thing built, the Wells Fargo Center will be like the 8th oldest building in the NHL.
Yeah.
Because Calgary and Ottawa are building right now. So, I mean, these things happen quickly, man. I mean, it's not, these stadiums don't feel that old, but when you look at like the shelf life on them and how quickly other franchises start to build, I mean, that life cycle is, on the back end, I guess.
Absolutely. Kevin Kinkead, check out all of his coverage over at Crossing Broad, of course, on the Twitter X platform at Kevin_Kinkead. And he joined me right here on 97.3 ESPN. Kevin, appreciate you jumping on. Good conversation. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, Josh. Always appreciate it. Tell Gill to put some like Bangkok photos online or something, just so we know he's actually out there.
Well, he's on a 19-hour flight right now, so I got to wait till he actually lands to talk to him again.
All right, man. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Take care. Kevin Kinkead joined us here. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on 97.3 ESPN. We'll check back in on text board one more time before we wrap up the hour. And then John McMullen joins us at 3 p.m. And don't forget, we'll get more conversation on Philly sports, Knicks, Nuggets, and Adam Caplan in the 4 o'clock hour. Also to come on the Tuesday edition of the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN.
It's Sixers basketball tonight on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the Sixers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
Yabusele in, Maxey for three. It's up and good. Oh, yeah! He's been known with the prolific fourth quarters.
It's Sixers Thunder tonight. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. It's Sixers basketball all season long on South Jersey's radio home for Philadelphia 76ers basketball. 97.3 ESPN.
With GMF financing to qualified buyers excludes Traverse and Corvette excludes prior sales.
Start the new year right in a new Chevy from Bennett, where we sell new Chevys at the true GM supplier employee price. Yeah, you pay what our employees pay, not a penny more. Plus, at Bennett Chevrolet, you keep all the rebates. That's incredible. That's right, you save both ways, saving you up to 20% off the sticker. But it gets even better, because right now there's available 0.9% financing, saving you even more. 0.9. And get this, if you're looking for a pre-owned, Bennett Chevy will pay you a minimum $10,000 for any old clunker you can get here towards any pre-owned in stock. You'll get at least 10 grand for total junk. Imagine how much you'll get for a good trade. And one more thing, Bennett's sales team is paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. That makes a huge difference. No hype, no pressure. Together, let's drive. Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
Sweetie, come here. Don't worry. I see a lot of patients with the exact same thing.
Ever since the ice skating rink went in next door?
Or is it more than
Dr. Clark's business is heating up.
So many patients need my help. How will I find time to see all of them?
They need to hire a scheduler, stat.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Over 40 years ago, John Jenkins Sr. invented the heated bench for football players. Today, Jenkins Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning brings that same innovation and reliability to your home or business. Need plumbing repairs or a new gas furnace, boiler, or water heater? Ask about utility loans up to $25,000 at 0% for 7 years and rebates up to $29.50. Call 609-641-6440 or visit jenkinsandsons.com.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey, it's Mike Gill. The Nizam's Indian Restaurant on Route 40 in Egg Harbor Township is ready to serve you delicious Indian dishes. NJ.com ranked them as the #2 best restaurant in all of New Jersey. And this just in. It's their Eagles football special. Your table receives free tandoori, spicy chicken wings if the Eagles win for dine-in customers only. Join them for a special lunch buffet, Fridays through Sundays from 11:30 to 3 p.m. Visit thenizams.com for more information.
You're listening to The Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Don't forget the 2 o'clock hour of the Sports Bash was brought to you by Autumn Lake Healthcare Centers. Skilled nursing rehabilitation with elite level care in a warm and vibrant atmosphere. Visit autumnlakehealthcare.com to find a location near you. The section didn't leave their name, but it's probably because of the comment they made. They said, hey, what about the call to start the Packers game? Very clear video evidence shows Nixon with possession in the pile being contacted by Eagles players. Seemed like the refs hooked up y'all with the play that changed the game. Must be nice. Listen, man, if you're going to be the guy who is going to take one play in a game and use that as a symbol for the Eagles getting favoritism from officials, you're just a hater. And that's why I didn't leave your name. John McMullen with more Eagles talk next.
This is the home of Philadelphia Eagles playoff football. It's the NFC Divisional Round of the playoffs as the Eagles host the LA Rams this Sunday at the Link.
Nice catch by Goddard, who breaks the tackle across the 5. Touchdown! Goddard,
beast, pushes him in the face twice and into the end zone.
Eagles Radio Network coverage begins at 2 p.m. Merrill Reese and Mike Quick call all the action starting at 3 p.m. This is South Jersey's official home for Eagles playoff football. 97.3 ESPN.
Winter is here. Are you prepared? Don't get left in the dark. Kelvy Electric, a certified Generac dealer, has you covered. From installation to maintenance, they're your go-to experts for Generac generators, ensuring your home stays powered through any storm. A Generac home standby generator will automatically restore power to your home during an outage, so your life goes on uninterrupted. Put your trust in Kelvy Electric, the premier electrical contractor, serving South Jersey for over 110 years. Visit KelvyElectric.com today and stay ahead of any storm.
Progressive presents Renters MVP's Most Valuable Possessions. Today's MVP, Joe Fallon's bedroom mini fridge. Sure, this pint-sized chiller's max capacity is 3 soda cans, but what it lacks in stature, it makes up in cooling strength. Each beverage a perfect 37 degrees every time. And the 2 feet Joe walks to get a drink, priceless. That's why his mini fridge is today's MVP. Keep your most valuable possessions protected by bundling your renters and auto insurance with Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
Go get your game on at the Gallery Bar, Book and Games at Ocean Casino Resort. Cheers your favorite drinks while cheering on your favorite team. Get in on the parlay while in the middle of a party. Go for the sports scene and go for the endless screens. Go to the Gallery, go to Fanatic Sportsbook, and go for the win at Ocean Casino Resort. For more information, visit theoceanac.com. Must be 21 or older to wager or consume alcohol. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The Home Depot has up to 35% off select appliances like Samsung, ranked #1 in customer satisfaction. Shop the mega capacity 3-door French door refrigerator with 4 types of ice to chill your drink faster. Or the 5-burner electric range with no preheat air fry for healthier, crispy food all in your oven. Right now, get up to 35% off select appliances at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Visit jdpower.com/awards for more details. Pricing valid January 9th through January 29th. U.S. only. See store online for details.
The 2025 Hercules Tires MAC Basketball Championships are returning to Atlantic City's iconic Jim Whalen Boardwalk Hall for the 6th consecutive year, March 11th through the 15th, featuring 22 men's and women's teams. The tournament is fun for the family, featuring a band jam, Spirit Squad showcase, Kids Day, and mascot game. Don't miss the chance to be a part of the action to see who will cut down the nets and earn a spot in the big dance. Visit maxsports.com/basketball for more information.
Good morning, beat freaks. Who's ready to move? Let's start this day right.
Tasha's morning dance parties are meeting rave reviews.
Lose your phones and find your groove.
They need an ops manager to help their community dance the morning away.
I need Indeed.
Indeed, you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, it's Mike Gill from the Sports Bash. The action is heating up this playoff season at ESPN Bet Sportsbook. Lock in your touchdown picks, check out trending parlays, and increase your winning with profit boosts. New customers can bet $10 to get $100 in bonus bets and unlock 30 days of ESPN Plus. Download the ESPN Bet Sportsbook app and sign up with the promo code RADIO100. That's RADIO100 to get started today. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
South Jersey's official play-by-play home of the Eagles, Sixers, and Flyers.
At 0 point would I ever consider not being a fan of the team.
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort studio, here's Mike Gill.
I thought Jalen Hurts didn't look rusty at all. My biggest concern is, how does it look like Green Bay knew what every pass play was? How does it look like Green Bay knew exactly what the pass concept was going to be? How does it look like Green Bay knew exactly where the receivers were going to be on a consistent basis? My mind, after I watched that tape, wasn't, man, Jalen Hurts struggled. I actually thought Jalen Hurts played well. My mind went to Kellen Moore.
It's the classic chicken or the egg argument. Who are you going to blame? It's not enough that you won the game. It's not enough if you advance to the next round. It's not enough that Jalen Hurts and nobody on the offense got injured. No, you know how Eagle fans are. John McMullen, Birds 365 on the Jacob Media YouTube channel. We got to blame somebody. So who are you blaming? The quarterback and his rust? Or the play caller and the plays for why Jalen Hurts started the game with 6 straight completions and then 7 consecutive incompletions, John?
I don't know. Did the Packers not know the plays until the 7th pass? I don't know. I would recommend not listening to people, bipolar people say one thing one week and the opposite thing the next. But the passing game was not effective. So, I think everybody has a piece of that. Certainly Kellen, certainly Jalen. But the good part is it could be, a Sam Darnold-like performance where you're out of the playoffs versus you're winning by double digits. So, I mean, that's the goal, to persevere and move on, and they were able to do it.
When you look back on that game moving forward, I know you guys spoke to the coordinators today, and Kellen Moore gave the typical coach speak, right, John? We'll get better. We got to work on it. But I do think it's interesting to note that Jalen Hurts did not play for almost what's worth a month of time. So, I mean, it's reasonable to believe that the offense could only do so much, right?
Well, I think part of it's self-inflicted. I think they're very risk-averse. I think the Eagles have made a organizational decision that if they don't turn the ball over, they're probably going to win. And they're probably right the vast majority of time. Not probably, they are. I mean, they're 15-3. So, the question is, can you go the full way with it playing that way? Can you beat the Rams? Can you beat Detroit or Washington down the road? Can you win the Super Bowl? Oh, there's only 3 hurdles left, so we're going to see. But yeah, it's pretty evident that they don't want to take risks. They don't want to take the football, turn the football over, and they're playing a style, almost an old school style of football that Philadelphia should love. Running game, defense, and don't make mistakes on offense.
John, I made the
occasional big play.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, obviously
the occasional big play.
The occasional big play. When A.J. Brown's not busy reading a book on the sidelines, right?
Well, that was overblown.
I know.
Yeah. AJ always says that book on the sideline, which I admit is weird, but it's not new.
Listen, Slay said on his podcast, he says, I'd rather AJ, be reading a book on the sideline than chucking a helmet, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's, a self-help book, and obviously it's number one on Amazon, so we got that guy a few more bucks who wrote it. So, but, he showed the book to a few reporters, and it's definitely well used. So, and all the players mentioned he's been doing it all year, so he's not bull whatting. So
yeah, exactly. Although I did think it was funny when Jalen turned around and said, I've seen him with the book in his hand, but I don't know how much he's reading it. It's kind of like,
I mean, yeah, people are looking for – look, they're not throwing the football a lot. They threw it 21 times. They don't throw it. They haven't thrown it a lot since the bye week at week 5. They've made this conscious decision. They don't throw it down the field much anymore. They've thrown it down the field 9 times in the last 9 games, 20 yards or more. They've made this decision that if they don't turn the football over, they're going to win. And so far it's held up for the most part.
John, you mentioned about the way they won the game, running the ball, great defense, and my mind goes back to, 7 years ago yesterday, John. The Eagles won 15-10 in a game where I remember I was working here at 97.3 ESPN with Mike Gill. I remember, the days after that, you would come on with Mike and people were complaining about, is Nick Foles the quarterback? What's wrong with the offense? And it's like, it's almost deja vu for me, John, because it's, hey, the defense did a great job. They 7 years ago held Matt Ryan and the Falcons offense down. This past Sunday, they held Jordan Love and the Packers offense down. But instead of applauding the defense, we're complaining about the offense.
Well, it's the nature. I mean, you not only have to win, you have to win with style and style points. But, and look, it's great when you can do that. But this is the time of year where, it's a knockout round, so as long as you win, there's time to make some corrections and do some different things. And ultimately, if it does end up as the NFC Championship game in Detroit, I think they're going to have to throw the football a little bit more. And, that'll be an interesting discussion that week, but you got to get to that week. And, there is a thought process that, it's going to be pretty difficult just to turn on the light switch whenever you want to, and they're probably going to have to do that at some point. But on the other hand, maybe not. This defense has been tremendous, and they were tremendous again, although now they're going to have to go forward without Nakobe Dean.
Talking with Eagles insider John McMullen, Birds 365 on the Jacob Media YouTube channel. Also covers the Eagles for Sports Illustrated at JF McMullen. On the Twitter X platform, his appearance on the Sports Bash being brought to you by Boardwalk Honda. Stop in and take advantage of game-changing savings all month long at Boardwalk Honda. John, you mentioned Nakobe Dean. Obviously a big loss for the Eagles. He was the guy with the green dot on his helmet. But I had to laugh when you guys asked Vic Fangio about it because he said that I'm not calling the defense any differently. How much that was Vic being Vic, and how much do you think the Eagles will miss Nakobe Dean?
Well, they'll definitely miss him, but they'll miss him, from he's just playing very well. He had been playing very well, and they had, 2 of the best linebackers in football. And who saw that coming back in August? And now he's out. The green dot part of it, I go back to you were talking about the Super Bowl season, the 2017 Super Bowl season. For people who forget that, Jordan Hicks was injured. He was the green dot.
Yep.
And they had to move it to Nigel Bradham. And we all asked Jim Schwartz at the time, and Jim was a little bit more colorful. And he said, "Can you repeat what I say?" It's not that big of a deal, that part of it. So I think that's what Vic was saying. But they're certainly going to miss him from a production standpoint. and that part of it is certainly real. And Zach Bond, at times, N'Kobe's been banged up a little bit here and there. He missed the Dallas game, and Zach took over the Green Dot. So it's not like he hasn't done it already in the past.
When you think about the years Zach Bond has had, I mean, there's a lot of people suggesting that, he should be in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. So now you're talking about a guy who was an unknown, and I'm not saying him and Nigel Bradham are an apple-to-apple comparison, but isn't there a part of looking at this like, wow, is there anything more Philadelphia than a guy that nobody knew who now is going to become the key to this defense making a Super Bowl run?
Well, with all due respect, he did not play as well as Zach Bond. I mean, Zach Bond has been absolutely unbelievable. First team All-Pro, deservedly so. I do think he'll be in the top 5 of Defensive Player of the Year voting. And nobody saw it coming. Even Zach himself, talking to him the day he made the Pro Bowl, and he said, he kind of laughed when he saw his contract and that there was an incentive for making the Pro Bowl. He kind of said to his agent, basically, why is that in there? They kind of chuckled. And forget about the Pro Bowl. He's first team All-Pro. And it's quite the story. And, he's been this for, you think his coming out party was in Brazil week 1. He was tremendous in that game. And he's been the best linebacker in football this entire season.
John, when you think about it, do you think he can win Defensive Player of the Year, or is that just a pipe dream?
No, I don't think he can. Unfortunately, it's become a sack award. Unfortunately, the same thing with Saquon and MVP. I mean, people are upset. Saquon's not going to win the MVP. He's going to win Offensive Player of the Year, but he's not going to win MVP, and he's not even going to be particularly close to winning MVP because it's become the best quarterback award. And it's, between Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, probably Lamar's going to win it again. Just the way it is. Defensive Player of the Year, probably going to be TJ Watt. Big sack numbers. That's what people want to see. Plus, you do need, if he does it, there's occasionally Stephon Gilmore won it as a corner a number of years ago. Patrick Surtain is probably, the top candidate if TJ Watt doesn't win it. So, there's a little bit more of an inroad, but there's also that reputation aspect of it. So Zach will probably have to have it another season next year. Then maybe he'll be a more realistic candidate. I have a vote. I put him in the top 5. I'm not allowed to say where, but I can tell you I put him in the top 5.
It's interesting you said that, though, because, I was listening to Darius Slay's podcast this morning. He said on his podcast that if Zach Bond's name was Roquan Smith or Bobby Wagner or Fred Warner, and you gave those guys Bond's stats, that he would have already won the award, and the award would have already been shipped to his house. So is there some name recognition bias here?
Oh, yeah. There's always, that's what I said. There's always a reputation part of it. So you almost have to have the second year and, be more realistic if he does it back to back. But, yeah, definitely. Fred Warner had that type of year. He might be in the conversation, and no doubt about it. That's a big part of it.
John, speaking of Bond, I did want to hit on with you before we get to the Rams is that, the conversation in some circles has been about, what do the Eagles do with Bond? And let's throw Becton into this as well, because I think for a lot of people, Bond and Becton have both performed way above expectations. Are the Eagles going to be able to keep both these guys after this year?
Zach and who?
Mekhi Becton.
Mekhi, I don't know. Mekhi's more difficult because, if somebody wants to make him a tackle again, and, tackles generally make more than guards, And if they want to make him a starting left tackle again, that could complicate matters because you can't pay a guard like a left tackle. With Zach, yeah, I think they're going to sign him. Howie was jokingly on Jason Kelsey's show and said about it, hope he doesn't go too high, but they know the type of year he's had. And it's typically a position they don't want to pay big money to, but hey, that horse is out of the barn. They got to do it. And this is the best linebacker play they've had in I don't know when. You got to go back decades. And for the people that want to go back to Jeremiah Trotter Sr. or that, he's been much better than that. When's the last time the Eagles have had a first-team All-Pro linebacker? I don't even know the answer to that question.
I don't know if they have. Honestly, I have to look it up to see. I don't even think Seth Joyner even ever did anything like that.
Yeah, it's rare air in this city. And I think Howie knows he's got to get it done. And then the other complicated one is Milton Williams as well.
By the way, I just looked it up. So Seth Joyner was a second-team All-Pro twice.
Which is tremendous, but it's not first team.
He did finish second. He did finish second in the Defensive Player of the Year voting in 1991. So he got that going for him.
Yeah, and that was the last time, 91, the last time the Eagles had the number one defense under Bud Carson.
Does John McMullen remember who beat Seth Joyner for the Defensive Player of the Year voting in 91?
I do not.
I wouldn't expect.
It's probably a big sack guy.
Well, what I was going to say is, John, if you remembered this, I'm putting you in that Dan Graziano getting all those random stats on TV right category. The man who beat Seth Joyner was Pat Swilling.
Yep, sack guy. Sack guy. Saints rusher, linebacker, but more of a rusher.
He had 17 sacks that year.
Yep. It's always the sack guy.
It's always the sack guy. John McMullen joining us. Birds 365 on the Jacob Media YouTube channel. Covers the Eagles also for Sports Illustrated. All right, John, let's get our first look at the Rams coming up. Frankly, I thought the Rams were going to win yesterday anyway. That was my pick for days, and I just didn't think they were going to dominate the Vikings. So what was your takeaway? How much of that was the Vikings just wilting under the pressure? How much it was the Rams with a great game plan? Like, what was your take on the game last night?
Yeah, it was just a horrible performance by the Vikings offense, the quarterback, the offensive line. In a lot of ways, I think it was comparable to the Eagles losing to San Francisco last year, which kind of broke the Eagles mentally. I think that was the start of the collapse, and they kind of said to themselves, oh boy, we're not good enough to compete with that team. And that's sort of what happened to the Vikings against the Lions in Week 18 when they got kind of dismantled. And I quickly put the upset alert on. Now, I didn't think it would be that bad. That was one of the historic all-time stinkers from Sam Darnold. And, you can't even explain it from a football perspective. I said, you got to get a psychiatrist on that. He wouldn't throw the football. They sacked him 9 times, and he held the football an average of 4.78 seconds, which I don't know if you know is egregious. The worst mark in the NFL is about 3.14. 4.78. Everybody's going to get sacked 9 times. It's just one of the worst performances you're ever going to see.
So then
I
how?
wouldn't get too caught up in the Rams looking good, because that's not going to happen again.
I know a lot of people are excited about what they saw from the Rams last night, but John, I go back to the first time these teams met. The Eagles hit Matthew Stafford 11 times in that game. And I don't look at the Eagles defense or the Rams offensive line being any different coming into this game.
Oh, they're a lot different on the offensive line. They had a bunch of injuries, so they've gotten their starters back. They're healthier, so they're going to be better on the offensive line. Probably better offensively. They've only lost one game since losing to the Eagles, and that was Week 18 when they started Jimmy Garoppolo. So you don't even count that one. So they have been playing well. They have been playing better. They're healthier. Obviously, Nakua and Cooper Kupp are just coming back at that point. They're healthy now, so they're a better team. But probably the strength of the Rams overall is their defensive front, the group that got 9 sacks. And they're all young, and they're all athletic, but they're all undersized.
Mm-hmm.
And styles make fights, and you saw it in the first matchup. Saquon Barkley had 255 yards rushing, 302 yards total yards from scrimmage. Both his best game in this historic season. The Eagles' offensive line will just push that defensive front around. That's what they did in the first game. That's what I expect in the second game.
John, if I could play a little devil's advocate with you, because if you go back to that winning those games they did after the Eagles game, they beat the Saints, the injured 49ers, the pitiful Jets for 3 of those wins. So, I mean, for me at least, I'm not looking at. And by the way, they barely beat the Cardinals in that stretch as well. The only reasonable win was the shootout they had with the Bills. So it's not like the Rams were going out there and take it out postseason teams. You know what I mean?
No, but we go through that every year. I mean, there's fans look at games and they say, well, this team's not good, this team's not good, this team's not, and they end up with, well, who's good? Until you beat Detroit,
True.
You haven't beaten anybody. So, I mean, it's hard to win in this league. So anytime you go off on a run like the Rams did, they're playing well. They have confidence. Confidence is a big part of it. I just think this is a bad matchup for the Rams. I mean, again, Jared Verse, tremendously athletic, undersized. Braden Fisk, tremendously athletic, undersized. Kobe Turner, tremendously athletic, undersized. And then on the opposite side, you got 330-pound Lane Johnson. You got 360 Mekhi Becton. You got 380 Jordan Mailata. You got 340 Landon Dickerson. They pushed him around the first time. They're going to push him around the second time.
John, before I let you go, I did want to bring up to you, so my one concern going into this game is the other team's quarterback, because I look at Matthew Stafford as one of the guys that if it's a tie game with 2 minutes left and he has the ball, I'm sweating, John. I'm worried because I feel like Stafford, if the Eagles let the Rams stay in this game, I just feel like Stafford has got that moxie and that ability to lead a team back and beat you, and that's the one thing that concerns me going into this game.
Yeah, I mean, Matthew Stafford, I talked to Vic about him today. Darius Slay, former teammate, A.J. Brown, everybody loves him. Potential future Hall of Famer. Great player, still a great player. But the Eagles are better equipped against styles. If you look at last night, Minnesota blitzes a lot. The Eagles don't. So, he's very good picking up the blitz. He's very good throwing behind it. He understands it. He's not going to panic. The Eagles aren't going to do that. They're going to play heavy zone, and he's going to be throwing into that coverage, which makes it more difficult. They have a better pass rush, so they'll probably be able to get at least home, certainly with Jalen Carter at times. So it'll probably look similar to the first game, and it's going to be not to mention the Rams are coming to Philadelphia, and it's going to be 35 or so on Sunday. Dome team, not really a dome. It's kind of an open air dome, but fair weather team. So yeah, I don't like this matchup for the LA Rams.
John, what was more of a controversial call? Was it the fumble called incomplete forward pass last night, or was it the suspicious start to the Eagles game where nobody knew who had the ball and suddenly the Eagles had it?
I didn't have a problem with either. I mean, Trotter took the ball away at the bottom of the pile, so I think that was one of the ones. If they would have called it, if they would have called it Green Bay's ball on the field, they probably would have kept it and said, well, he had it before Trotter ripped it away. But they called it on the field. They called it to the Eagles, and they kept it. So to me, that was going to be one. They just stuck with what they called on the field. And then the Stafford play, it looked crazy, but that's what he was doing. He's trying to flip because he's smart. That's what he did. He flipped it forward. Nakua was there. I didn't think it was a bad call. I thought it was the right call.
All right. John McMullen, Birds 365 on the Jacob Media YouTube channel. Check out all of his Eagles coverage at Sports Illustrated, at JF McMullen on the Twitter X platform. John, always good to talk to you, and we'll chat with you again on Thursday.
All right. Thanks, Josh.
And, of course, John McMullen's appearance here on the Sports Bash brought to you by Boardwalk Honda. Stop in and take advantage of game-changing savings all month long at Boardwalk Honda in Egg Harbor Township. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle. Phil, hopefully I answered your question there. John says that was the right call. He says with Stafford. And, the reason why I bring up the other play is because the anonymous texter who made the suggestion that the referees didn't make that call straight either. So I covered both people. I said, John, take which one? John's like, I got to be honest, I think both were the right call. So, and John will tell you what he thinks. He is not afraid to tell you if he thinks something is a problem. All right, still to come here on the Sports Bash. Who's hot? Who's cold? I'm going to re-rank the quarterbacks who are still in the playoffs. Plus, we got more text to get to at 609-403-0973. 3 o'clock hour of the Sports Bash being brought to you by Broadleys Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Broadleys is your trusted source for heating and plumbing service and installation for generations. Call them at 609-390-3907 or online at broadleys.net. Josh Hennig here, hanging out with you on 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget, we got a busy 4 o'clock hour. Knicks, Nuggets, and NFL insider Adam Caplan all still to come here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN.
It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
And I am the voice of the voiceless.
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
So you need a new car or SUV, but you're upside down in your trade, but you're worried about your down payment, but your credit is less than perfect. Bring your butts to any Matt Blatt Kia today. With over 1,100 new Kias, all with zero down, zero payments until April, or get $10,000 in bonus cash, or 0% for 72 months on every clearly marked Kia EV6 and 9. Buried in a loan or lease? Matt Blatt Kia wants to get you released new all-wheel drive Kia Sportage or Sorento. 1.9% for 60 months. Matt Blatt Kia. With our PA and New Jersey Kia Superstores, Abington, Egg Harbor Township, Toms River, or right to your front door.
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
With approved credit, $13.89 per thousand finance. Not all will qualify. Credit may affect down payment. Offers can't be combined. Go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details, or 888-505-6670. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer, except for licensing, registration, and taxes through KMF. Rebates and incentives to dealer. Expires 2/4/25. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and on Route 37 in Toms River.
For new carpet, the Home Depot is your destination, with a large assortment of affordable carpeting in the brands, styles, and colors you need. And for new carpet savings, the Home Depot also has you covered, with 10% off all special order carpeting right now. Enjoy long-lasting comfort at a great price and free installation. Offer valid January 9th through January 26th, 2025. Receive 10% off special order carpet and installation. Installation included in select markets with qualifying purchase. For licenses, see homedepot.com/license numbers.
The county just requested more electric charging stations.
Orders have really amped up at Able Electric.
We need 3 more at First and Main, and we just got another hotel chain.
It's no shock. Able Electric needs able electricians.
Grocery store wants charging stations too.
And fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Put our matching platform to work so you can spend less time searching and more time connecting with talented candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Okay, I have to tell you. I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest. The last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the...
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your...
windshield wipers. eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying. Just beautiful.
Whatever you love, find it on eBay. eBay. Things people love.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting rules for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop, opt out. Consult a doctor prior to use.
Wow, you look amazing. What have you been doing?
For New Year's, I wanted to try Ozempic, Wegovy, or other GLP-1 medications everyone's talked about. I found this great company called Zelfie. If you qualify, their providers can prescribe medications like Ozempic and Wegovy and other GLP-1 medications that are 80 to 90% less expensive, all 100% online.
I can get GLP-1 medications for 80 to 90% less and do it all online? No doctor's office or pharmacy?
Yes, Zelfie can provide semaglutide or tirzepatide, the active ingredients in Ozempic and other expensive GLP-1s, but for 80 to 90% less and shipped directly to your door.
How do I get started with Zelfie?
Just send them a text.
Text DATE to 200-300 to get started this New Year's with Zelfie. Get the same active ingredients in Wegovy or Ozempic for 80 to 90% less. 100% online. Don't wait. Text DATE to 200-300 right now for a link to your exclusive offer. Text DATE to 200-300. DATE to 200-300.
Hey, you've definitely had a busy month. Finding gifts, sending cards, hosting family. Well, now it's time to treat yourself at Macy's After Christmas Sale. Come and find great deals on something just for you. Like 25% off New Year's party looks from DKNY, Adriana Papel, and more. So enjoy the week and get yourself the gifts you really wanted before these limited time deals are over tonight at Macy's After Christmas Sale. Savings off already reduced prices. Exclusions apply.
Febreze. So my home is also my office. And before I can focus, every room's gotta be clean. That means tidying up, then spraying my Febreze Air Mist. Ooh, that's fresh. Febreze Air Mist scents are all high quality. They fight any weird funk, and they give my air an instant boost of freshness. So not only does my home smell good, I feel good too. After I Febreze, it's time to start my day. Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, you know to check you have a full tank of gas first, before road tripping through the desert.
Empty? Seriously? Maybe I can walk.
Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds.
Maybe I can't.
You're in good hands with Allstate.
Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
The best call to make on game day is ordering catering from the Piccalilli Inn. For parties big or small, the Pick does it all. Your guests will be cheering for the Pick spin on football favorites like pulled pork nachos, cheesesteaks, burgers, and their award-winning buffalo wings, tails, and ears. Get your chicken wing fix on Route 206 at the Piccalilli Inn. Join the flock and follow the Pick on Facebook or at Piccalilli.com for their Pick game specials. And be sure to pre-order to guarantee your spot in Sunday's lineup.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Never thought this radio stunt would catch on so big.
On 97.3 ESPN.
Sports Bash here, 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on a Tuesday afternoon. We are now on to the NFL Divisional Round of the postseason. So who are the hottest and coldest quarterbacks in the NFL postseason? Of course, that conversation is being brought to you by Ace Hardware, home services, heating and cooling and plumbing. The helpful team is now making house calls in South Jersey. Visit acehardwarehomeservices.com to book today. Of course, they've been bringing you the Who's Hot, Who's Cold segment all year long. And, of course, now that everybody's in the postseason, we decide to rank quarterbacks. Tomorrow we'll rank the games. Okay, I'll rank all the games in the playoff round a little bit later in the week, of course. But right now, let's get to the quarterbacks because there are 8 of them still left. So for today's Who's Hot and Who's Cold, we'll get to that. And, of course, we'll get to the text board a little bit later in the hour, 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. But right now, let's get into this here. So I got to admit, some of my list is a little redundant with last week because almost every quarterback that I had that were not in the top 8 last week didn't make it out of the first round. So I feel a little vindicated about that, selfishly. It's all about me, right? No one else is here to tell me what to do. It's me, myself, and I. No one here is here to criticize me. No, but on a more serious note. So you have 8 quarterbacks left in the postseason. Just to remind everyone, Saturday's games, Houston at Kansas City, followed by Washington and Detroit. Texans, Chiefs, 4:30 kick. Commanders, Lions, 8 p.m. And then Sunday, Eagles at 3 p.m. hosting the Rams, followed by Bills hosting the Ravens. You can hear all 4 of those games right here on your home for Eagles football and all of the NFL playoffs, 97.3 ESPN. So now I've reminded you of all the games. Here are my ranking of the quarterbacks. All right. Number 8, I feel like is probably the easiest of all on this list, and that is C.J. Stroud. And I don't mean to say that as a negative to C.J. Stroud. I'm saying it because when I look at C.J. Stroud, I'm not looking at a guy who I think is better than anyone else on this list. I just don't see it. And I like C.J. Stroud. I think he's a tremendous human being. I think he's a tremendous quarterback. But the reality is that C.J. Stroud has limitations and a lack of success this year and in his career compared to the other 7 quarterbacks on this list. Which brings me probably to the most controversial name I'm going to go with on this list. Number 7. I'm going to go Jared Goff. I'm not anti-Goff, okay? But number 1, the Lions have been sitting around for a couple weeks now. How hot is Jared Goff? I mean, this is who's hot, who's cold. He's been sitting on his hands. Not literally, but he hasn't played in a couple weeks. Second of all, how much of Goff's success is also in part because of Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator. You know, Jared Goff, the best years of his career, he's had Sean McVay and Ben Johnson in his ear. Goff showed us that when you get pressure on him, he can be erratic. You saw the Houston Texans game 2 months ago where he had all those turnovers, all those interceptions. So for me, I got to go Goff as my number 7. Number 6, Jaden Daniels. I think Daniels has shown you this year and then on Sunday night in the postseason, he is dynamic, he is dangerous, he is the type of player that I think is one day going to be a league MVP. That's what I think of Jaden Daniels. I think this young man, his future, his ceiling is that, and he showed you last week how dangerous he can be. If it's a tie game with 2 minutes left, I like, if I'm a Commanders fan, I like Jaden Daniels with the ball in his hands more than Jared Goff, more than C.J. Stroud. Number 5 on the list, Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts has led a team to the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts is undefeated at home in the postseason. Jalen Hurts, in the biggest game of his career, statistically outdueled Patrick Mahomes. I am not going to let the game this past Sunday dictate my opinion of this young man. So when I look at this schedule over here, I am looking at a schedule that tells me that Jalen Hurts, he is a more dynamic player than Jared Goff. He is a more proven commodity than C.J. Stroud or Jaden Daniels. So again, when I look at this schedule, I see a schedule where there's only a handful of quarterbacks that I think are more proven commodities and who are better than the Eagles quarterbacks. That's why I have him at number 5. Number 4 on today's Who's Hot and Who's Cold, brought to you by Ace Hardware, Home Services, Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. The helpful team is now making house calls in South Jersey. Visit acehardwarehomeservices.com to book today. Number 4 is Lamar Jackson. Let's be realistic. Lamar Jackson, multiple-time league MVP. He is building a Hall of Fame career. And he had a very good game last week. But the Steelers have also been falling apart down the stretch here. And I just have to wonder, if you are a NFL team, you love Lamar Jackson, you love him as a teammate, you love him as a talent, you love him as a quarterback, but I don't trust him as much as the other 3 guys on this list. Again, in my mind, postseasons come down to the biggest moments of the game. And if it's a tie game with 2 minutes left on the clock, there are 3 quarterbacks that I want the ball in their hands more than Lamar Jackson. Also, I'm curious to see what Lamar Jackson does this Sunday. Yes. I forgot the schedule there for a minute. This Sunday night after the Eagles game. Because I think that him and Josh Allen are going to really put on a show. And I think it's going to come down to whoever has the ball last in their hands. And I think that if you're a Ravens fan, you're just hoping Josh Allen doesn't have a chance to beat you. All right, number 3 on my list, Matthew Stafford. I've said it numerous times here on 97.3 ESPN. I get it. The guy's a gunslinger. He throws interceptions at times. He is not the most consistent quarterback. But when Matthew Stafford is on, he is one of the scariest quarterbacks on the planet. And you heard John McMullen say it in the last segment. The Rams' offensive line right now is healthier than they were the last time the Eagles played them. So if Stafford's getting protection and the ball is in his hands in a tie game with 2 minutes left, I am sweating bullets. I am profusely sweating and nervous about what happens next. Because, again, I know this was 3 months ago. Actually, 4 months ago now I think about it. But if Kirk Cousins can slice and dice the Eagles defense at the end of a game on Monday Night Football, why can't Matthew Stafford do the same? Now you could say, hey, the Eagles defense is different now. They have Cooper DeJean in the slot now, right? They have gotten better with their pass rush. Jalen Carter has really come into his own. All those things are true. But Stafford has the most fourth quarter comeback wins among all active quarterbacks in the NFL. The man has got the it factor. He's got the arm talent. Also helps got some pretty good, darn good receivers as well. You could argue that Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua is the second best wide receiver tandem in the NFL. Number 2. This comment will probably get me in trouble, but I don't care. I'm not scared of people. Patrick Mahomes. The man had the worst statistical year of his career. And for many NFL quarterbacks, that would be a great year. It was the worst statistical year of his life. So when I look at Patrick Mahomes, I'm still scared of him. I still know what he's capable of. And I do think their offense has got exceptionally better since DeAndre Hopkins joined that team. They now have more dynamic options, right? It's not all just speed, deep guys and Travis Kelce. No, you have possession receivers, you have speed receivers. Isaiah Pacheco is back. The Chiefs are a very dangerous offense. Patrick Mahomes is the one who orchestrates it. And listen, the only question with Mahomes is he had a lot of interceptions, a lot of turnovers this year. Was that because of the talent around him? Was that because he had a down year? Was it because Andy Reid and Matt Nagy didn't do a great job of putting him in the best position to be successful? He threw for the fewest yards of his career. He had tied for the fewest touchdown passes in a season in his career. And he had the most turnovers. Now, here's the thing. He had 14 interceptions last year, and we didn't criticize him as I am right now. So is there some recency bias I'm having against Mahomes? It's certainly possible. I'm not going to act like that I have all the answers. I just felt like the interceptions I saw this year were more egregious than the ones last year, which is in part why I am putting as number one the hottest quarterback in the postseason is Josh Allen. To me, Josh Allen should be the league MVP. He is the quarterback of a team that had low expectations coming into this year. He is a quarterback that has guys like a old Amari Cooper. I mean, nobody can even name half of his receivers. And the guy only had 6 interceptions. A man who had been consistently a turnover machine had only 6 interceptions this year. And then in the postseason game, his team is down 7-0. They go on to dominate the game. I mean, he completed over 75% of his passes. Josh Allen is on fire right now, and I think he is the most dangerous quarterback in the postseason. And I think that Buffalo has a real chance of making it back to the Super Bowl because of him. They haven't been there since the 90s. And as I said, if you look at who he's throwing the ball to, he doesn't have the luxuries that guys like Mahomes or guys like Goff or guys like Stafford, Lamar, Jalen Hurts, these guys have a luxury of talent at receiver. Meanwhile, Matthew Stafford is throwing to Khalil Shakir, Dalton Kinkead, Mac Hollins, former Eagle, Curtis Samuel, Keon Coleman, Dawson Knox, and a past his prime Amari Cooper. Yeah. I think that I like that Josh Allen, what he's done this year a lot. All right, those are my hot, who's cold quarterbacks. Brought to you by Ace Hardware Home Services, heating and cooling and plumbing. The helpful team is on making house calls in South Jersey. Visit acehardwareservices.com to book today. We'll wrap up the 3 o'clock hour. Coming up next, don't forget, we have swapped the Nuggets and the Football on 4 segments. Adam Caplan is joining us at 4:30 today. Nick Earnshaw at 4 p.m. All that and more still to come with me, Josh Hennig, filling in for Mike Gill, here in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios on 97.3 ESPN.
It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey tonight on Rock 104.1 and the Rock 104.1 mobile app. Listen as Tim Saunders and Todd Fedork bring you all the exciting play-by-play action.
They score! Connecting on the one-timer, and TK makes no mistake, the power play goal.
It's Flyers Blue Jackets tonight. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey on South Jersey's classic rock station, Rock 104.1 and the Rock 104.1 mobile app.
Happy New Year from Brawley's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. With energy prices on the rise, don't pay more than you should to heat your home this winter. Upgrade to more efficient equipment with 0% financing, utility rebates up to $1,500, and no money down. Need heater service or repairs? Mention their first-time customer special for $25 off. As a factory-authorized Bryant dealer, Broadly does whatever it takes for your comfort. So give them a call today at 609-390-3907.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks Vapor Stick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks vapors in an easy-to-apply stick. And it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks Vapo Stick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And when you need more comfort for yourself, try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks Vapors.
Use as directed. Vapo Stick for use ages 4 and up. Vapo Shower Max use for adults only.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million+ products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Here in New Jersey, it's one wow after another. I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. Winter is in full swing at Mountain Creek in Vernon. Dozens of trails for skiing and snowboarding across 4 peaks, plus 30 lanes of snow tubing fun. And here's an extra wow. Mountain Creek has a fantastic all-mountain terrain park for all skill levels. Slopeside accommodations are available at the Appalachian, along with a variety of options to eat and drink, too. Find your wow at visitnj.org. New Jersey, little state, lot of wow.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest, the last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers? eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying, just beautiful.
Whatever you love, find it on eBay. eBay. Things people love.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting rules for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop, opt out. Consult a doctor prior to use.
Wow, you look amazing. What have you been doing?
I'm sure you've heard of Ozempic, Wegovy, and the other GLP-1 medications, right? Well, I found this great company called Zelfie. If you qualify, their providers can prescribe medications like Ozempic and Wegovy and other GLP-1 medications that are 80 to 90% less expensive, all 100% online.
I can get GLP-1 medications for 80 to 90% less and do it all online? No doctor's office or pharmacy?
Yes, Zelfie can provide semaglutide or tirzepatide, the active ingredients in Ozempic and other expensive GLP-1s, but for 80 to 90% less and shipped directly to your door.
How do I get started with Zelfie?
Just send them a text.
Text BEST to 200-300 to get started today with Zelfie. Get the same active ingredients in Wegovy or Ozempic, but for 80 to 90% less and 100% online. Don't wait. Text BEST to 200-300 right now for a link to your exclusive offer. Text BEST to 200-300. That's BEST to 200-300. BEST to 200-300.
Progressive presents a testimonial of sorts.
Hey, slow down!
Oh, yeah? Well, you drive like my grandma. She's a very attentive and courteous driver who wears a seatbelt and always uses her turn signals. She's also a talented painter and has very low cholesterol. Not that that has anything to do with her drive. We just thought a more complete picture of who she is might be interesting. Anyway, have a nice day.
Safe driver? Get Snapshot from Progressive and get a personalized rate based on how you drive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Snapshot not available in California or from all agents. Surcharge possible for unsafe driving.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
Breaking news, and this one is...
It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Do I have everybody's attention now?
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
3 o'clock hour of the Sports Bash has been brought to you by Broadley's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Broadley's is your trusted source for heating and plumbing service installation for generations. Call them at 609-390-3907. and online at broadlees.net. Coming up the next hour, we have had to flip-flop some of the guys. So Nick's Nuggets, Nick Earnshaw joins me on the other side of the break here on 97.3 ESPN. And then football at 4 with Adam Caplan from the Inside the Birds podcast. He will join us at 4:30. And we still have Casey Joyner still to come for one thought on every game at 5 p.m. And, of course, keeper text coming in. How do you feel? Eagles, Rams? You feel confident? You worried? Your thoughts on the Eagles and Rams throughout the show today with me, Josh Hennig, filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN.
It's Sixers basketball tonight on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the Sixers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
Yabusele in, Maxey for three. It's up and good. Oh, yeah! He's been known with the prolific fourth quarters.
It's Sixers Thunder tonight. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. It's Sixers basketball all season long on South Jersey's radio home for Philadelphia 76ers basketball. 97.3 ESPN.
Do you hear that? Asthma triggers are everywhere, from dust mites, pet dander, and pollen, to smog and smoke. An asthma attack can strike anywhere, anytime. Be prepared with quick-acting Primatene Mist. Clinically proven to open airways quickly. It's the #1 FDA-approved asthma inhaler available over the counter. Primatene Mist. Breathe easy again. Use as directed.
Where can you kick off the new year with big savings on gig speed? Only with Xfinity, now through January 16th. Get gig internet at home for $25 a month for 1 year when you add an unlimited mobile line, which connects you to gig speed Wi-Fi on the road. Act fast today and save more than $650 over AT&T and Verizon in your first year. Plus, hurry and take advantage because right now you can also get a free 5G phone with trade-in. So save big and stay connected to what you love with fast gig speed internet and mobile. From home to hotspots, this new year, it's all about gig speeds and big savings. Don't wait and get gig speed internet. Spend less green and switch to Xfinity. Go to Xfinity.com/gig savings to learn more. Requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. $40 internet discount applied to mobile bill. After promo, regular rates apply. Actual speeds vary. Savings compared to Verizon Fiber Gig Plus 1 Unlimited Welcome Line and AT&T Fiber Gig Plus 1 Unlimited Starter Line. Xfinity internet required. Reduced speeds after 30 gigabits of usage per line. Data thresholds and actual savings vary.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated in the best hearing aids of 2024 by USA Today, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices. Just $189.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 500,000 happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Progressive presents Renter's MVP's Most Valuable Possessions. Today's MVP, Tom Kelly's carbon fiber mountain bike. Because more than riding his carbon fiber mountain bike, Tom loves telling people about his carbon fiber mountain bike. Friends, family, even a local barista knows about his carbon fiber mountain bike. And that's why Tom's carbon fiber mountain bike, if you haven't heard about it, is today's MVP. Keep your most valuable possessions protected by bundling your renters and auto insurance with Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
Texting enrolls you into recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Haven't seen you around the gym for a while.
Yeah, I've really fallen off. Since I turned 40, I just don't get the results I used to get.
Could be lower testosterone.
Lower T?
Yeah, I went through it a while back. Once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone. I got Nugenix Total T, and it's made a huge difference for me.
I've seen that ad on TV. Is it for real?
Oh, yeah. The key ingredient is something called Tesnor, which helps boost free and total testosterone levels to help you trim up and stay lean.
And it's made a difference for you?
Man, I feel like I'm in my 20s again. At work, in the gym, and in the bedroom.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try it for themselves?
Yeah, you just need to send them a text.
Text REP to 321-321 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T, the #1 selling testosterone booster at GNC. Plus, text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo, our most powerful fat incinerator ever, to help you get back into shape fast, absolutely free. Text REP to 321 321-321. That's REP to 321-321.
With GMF financing to qualified buyers excludes Traverse and Corvette excludes prior sales.
Start the new year right in a new Chevy from Bennett, where we sell new Chevys at the true GM supplier employee price. Yeah, you pay what our employees pay, not a penny more. Plus, at Bennett Chevrolet, you keep all the rebates. That's incredible. That's right, you save both ways, saving you up to 20% off the sticker. But it gets even better, because right now there's available 0.9% financing, saving you even more. 0.9. And get this, if you're looking for a pre-owned, Bennett Chevy will pay you a minimum $10,000 for any old clunker you can get here towards any pre-owned in stock. You'll get at least 10 grand for total junk. Imagine how much you'll get for a good trade. And one more thing, Bennett's sales team is paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. That makes a huge difference. No hype, no pressure. Together, let's drive. Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
Home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They've got him. It's a sack.
Sixers.
Oh, baby.
And Flyers.
He scored!
97.3 ESPN. WENJ. WENJ HD. Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort Studio, here's Mike Gill.
Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill. 4 o'clock hour of the Sports Bash here on 97.3 ESPN. I know, usually this time you hear football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast, but we had to do a little bit of a switcheroo today. 4:30 p.m., Adam Caplan will join us for today's football at 4. So instead, right now, it's time for Nick's Nuggets, which is brought to you by Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. Get your game on at the Gallery Bar, booking games, and of course the Fanatics Sportsbook inside Ocean Casino Resort. Whether it's football season, basketball season, whatever season you want to, maybe hockey season as well. I mean, the Flyers are better than the Sixers right now, so it doesn't really matter. Whatever you want to do, go to the Ocean, go for the win. For more information, visit theoceanac.com. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Nick Earnshaw is here. How you doing, my friend?
I love that. I know where that kind of impression came from. That's a Billy Schwein impression. I already knew it. I knew that intro was a Billy Schwein impression. It was pretty good. I'll give it an 8.3 out of 10. How about that?
It's very Josh rating there. I like that.
Yeah. You can't do full numbers, right? I mean, what's the pizza reviews? You can't do full numbers on those. You know, you gotta have the 0.3 to 0.4.
Portnoy's got like half a pizza still in his mouth. He's like, it's 7.9.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know, it was a pretty good impression, to say the least. You do a pretty good Schweiner. I'll be seeing him a little later today, which is pretty funny. But Josh, we got to get into these Nuggets, man, and we got to talk about Nugget number 1, and we got to talk about Nakobe Dean. He is out for the rest of the postseason. Could affect him in 2025. We'll see how he recovers, and this is a big loss, Josh, for the defense. He is essentially the quarterback of the defense, wore the green dot, called plays for the Eagles all season long. And, you know, we know he's had some injury history in the past, but they're going to try and replace him with 2 players, according to Vic Fangio today. That's what he referred to. It would be Burks, who had the big play to start the game on special teams, the big forced fumble, and Jeremiah Trotter Jr. He elaborated that they trust Jeremiah Trotter Jr., Josh, and that's how they're going to try and replace him. But one of the captains on the defense, Darius Slay, on his podcast, Josh, explained the importance of Nakobe Dean and what he means to this defense.
Man, Nakobe Dean, like, if it's somebody I want to give my C to, it's him. Hate that that's happened, man, because he's arguably playing like a top 5 to 7 linebacker in the league right now, playing elite level football at the run. And, like, he's a force on our defense, man. He'll be really, truly missed. Even though we always bleed the next man up, like, it's hard to replace a dude like that, man, that commands the whole defense. Like, you know what I'm saying? He gives us the call. He set us up. He get the D-line straight. Like, he's a big factor to us, man. It's a big loss to us as a team, you know what I'm saying, because his energy is amazing.
And he is the perfect guy to talk about this, right, in Darius Slay, because he is the captain. He said he would give his C off his chest to Nakobe Dean. That's how important he's been this year. And remember, heading into the season, it was a massive question mark what the linebacking position would be. Josh Hennig, he ends up with 128 tackles, 9 tackles for loss. I could go on and on about his numbers, but he's an important part of this defense. Now they're missing. They're going to go to Jeremiah Trotter Jr. They're going to go to Orr Burks, who has been in the league for a little bit, but Nakobe Dean really set a tone on that defensive side of the ball, and they're going to miss that.
So a couple things here. One, the news just came out a little bit ago that the Eagles are signing Nicholas Morrow, by the way, to their practice squad. Remember, Morrow was on the team last year, so he has some familiarity with this defense. He spent most of this year on the Bills' practice squad. It's a little interesting note there. So you're taking away from the Bills' depth. So maybe you face the Bills in the Super Bowl, Nick. Maybe Nicholas Morrow's got a little bit of information for you. That's number one. Number two, John McMullen actually played along with one of my theories. So I was very satisfied with that, which was I go back to 2017. The man who wore the green dot that year was Jordan Hicks. Jordan Hicks got injured halfway through that year, and a man who had never worn the green dot, a man who had no expectations for him, was Nigel Bradham. He took the responsibility. They went to the Super Bowl. I know it's a little different this time around, but I think Zach Bond is a better linebacker than Nigel Bradham. I think we all agree on that, right?
I agree, of course.
So I'm a little less stressed about the loss of Dean because I think Bond is having such an amazing year. And remember, Orlin Burks has come in for the 49ers for their Super Bowl run, and he had to get a lot of playing time when their linebackers got hurt, so at least he has experience. So I think the Eagles will be fine, especially considering, Nick, this week it's the Rams. And at least you get 1 week to kind of ramp these guys up, right? Get them in the groove. Get them, all right, here's the plan, work out the kinks. So whoever you face in the championship game, because I think both Washington and Detroit create some matchup problems potentially for your linebackers.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And when it comes into Kobe Dean, you're going to miss him sorely. He's a leader on that defense, even with him being a young player, right? And to now go and have Burks in there and Trott, they're going to replace him. Remember, these guys will utilize their safeties a lot as well. It's not a typical defense where you need 3 linebackers. So I think they'll be okay. It's going to be a loss. I think you'll see a difference. You kind of saw it a little bit during the Eagles. Remember, Nakobe Dean, I mean, this guy was flying all over the place. But with Zach Bond being there and how good he's been, I trust them to be okay. I think Vic Fangio is experienced enough. He's been around the block for a long time to mix and match different packages in the secondary as well, utilizing safeties kind of in that position over the middle of the field. So I think they'll be just fine without Nakobe Dean. It's a loss, though, because he's been so good all year. You don't want to lose a guy like that. Now, you bring up Morrow, and if you're watching on the YouTube channel, it's a nice signing. Yeah, he's got some familiarity in case things really go awry at the linebacker position. He's from Buffalo. He was with Buffalo this year, so he can maybe give you some inside information a little bit if they were able to get that far and play a team like Buffalo. But I think they'll be okay without Nakobe. It's still a loss, though, because he's been so dominant. You're going to take a little bit of a step back without him being there.
Now, before we move on, a quick question I have for you, Nick Earnshaw, is when you look at the Eagles right now, Nakobe Dean, this patellar tendon tear, easy for me to say, is going to potentially keep out of all of next year too. So if you're Philadelphia going into this offseason, how are you handling the loss of a guy, Nick Earnshaw, who could potentially be gone for that long?
Yeah, I think that really forces Howie Roseman's hand to re-sign Zach Bond, right? They're going to have to spend some money at the linebacker position. You're going to have to bring him back. If you lose Nakobe Dean for a massive portion of next year or for the entirety of the year, which could happen with this injury, that kind of forces you to re-sign Zach Bond. And we saw the clip going around of Howie Roseman at Jason Kelsey's show, his late night show, talking about Zach Bond and bringing him back. And they didn't expect him to be this good. This forces them to probably bring him back, right? That's what my assumption would be. Because, you don't have anything after that. Nakobe Dean and Zach Bond were surprised after that. you don't have a ton of depth at that position. So, yeah, you might see them do something they really don't do that often, which is spend money at the linebacker position. It's a position they don't really value as much. But if you're going to be down to Kobe Dean for a lot of games next year, which could happen based upon the reports about his injury, yeah, I think it makes you forced to sign Zach Baun to a multi-year deal. We'll see how much they can get him for because he's going to test the open market. He's going to be a free agent. So hopefully they could bring him back. I mean, he's had the best year of his career, coming out party to say the least, all-pro honors. I could see him wanting to come back, but he's going to command a decent chunk of change. I think Howie Roseman might be forced to spend a little bit on that position.
I think he will spend the money for two reasons. One, because I think that they learned their lesson from letting go TJ Edwards.
Yep.
I think that came back to bite them. Number two, Howie did give Nigel Bradham a contract extension, and it did work out for the team for a couple of years. And I think Baun is a better linebacker than Nigel Bradham is. So I think that, and listen, if you will let me, take over your segment for a moment.
Take it over. Take it over, Josh.
I thought this comment from Darius Slay on the Big Play Slay podcast was very interesting because he said if Zach Baun went by another name, he'd be Defensive Player of the Year.
If Raekwon Smith would have had the stats that Zach Barnes had, it wouldn't be no question who's the Defensive Player of the Year. If, Bobby Wagner would have had this type of stat that Zach Barnes have, there's no question he'd be the Defensive Player of the Year. But just the fact that it's Zach Barnes, that's the guy that just might. I just think they're just not giving him the nod to be a Defensive Player of a candidate because if any of these other guys had it, it would be no. If Fred Warner had these stats that he has, y'all not finna tell me that Fred Warner would not be the Defensive Player of the Year. I'm just saying, if any one of them three did that right now, had the stats he had, probably already done mailed him the trophy. He already been celebrating. He just knew go there for the ceremony.
Something to think about.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you, Josh. And listening to that Slay clip, here's the thing. I think if he had better years with the Saints, you would have seen him get those honors, right? That Defensive Player of the Year. Not. It's just not going to happen. He doesn't have the clout, the NFL clout like those guys have. He doesn't have the name. And I think he's totally right, even though he's played like it, right? Like he's played. I mean, we were talking about at some point during the season, I know Mike and I were doing it on the Nuggets, that he was having better numbers than Luke Kuechly at one point. And Luke Kuechly won Defensive Player of the Year that one year. That best season he had, he has better numbers than him. So I think because he hasn't had multiple good seasons, yeah, that hurts his chances. It stinks that's the way it goes.
Well,
but
it's
unfortunately, it's just the way it is.
It's stupid. What you're saying is that now we're not giving it to the best player. We're giving it to the person with the most name recognition.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all a popularity contest at this point with most of the awards anyway, right? I mean, Saquon Barkley, MVP, could have had him in the conversation. So that's where you're at with those. It's a popularity contest. Unfortunately, it's not really going to go to the best player. If you had a couple good years and have a really good year, you might get it. And that's probably what's not going to happen for Zach Baun.
All right, what else you got for us for today's Nuggets segment? Again, Football at 4 with Adam Caplan coming up at 4:30 p.m. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on the Sports Bash along with Nick Earnshaw, 97.3 ESPN producer, on-air contributor, as well as host of the Shift podcast.
Yeah, and we got to move along to nugget number 2. And this was a nugget that got cut yesterday, Josh, by the way. I had multiple more nuggets to get to yesterday with Mike Gill before he goes to Thailand. And then we got into a Josh Harris debate because of the stadium. We got to talk a little Phillies at this point. There hasn't been a ton of news with the Phillies in recent weeks, but Jeff Hoffman, he signs elsewhere, Josh. And the stories coming out about Jeff Hoffman, he goes to the Toronto Blue Jays. Great. Okay, fine. Then it comes out that the Orioles were in on him first before the Blue Jays signed him. They were going to give him 3 years, $40 million. He ended up settling under $40 million with Toronto. And then another story comes out, Josh Hennig, that the Atlanta Braves were willing to go 5 years, $45-ish million, according to reports. The reason he didn't go to the Braves or Orioles is apparently a physical came back and he had a shoulder issue, Josh. So we were talking about it why wouldn't they bring him back. Like there's a stall in the market right now with all these relievers. Jeff Hoffman's been with you for a few seasons. He's been really good. He kind of fell apart in the postseason, but overall he's been a really good reliever, especially in high leverage situations. So you're thinking they could use another arm in that bullpen, especially after the guys they've signed who have had injury problems. Then it comes out Jeff Hoffman has this shoulder issue, and maybe that's why the Phillies stay away from Hoffman. What do you make of Hoffman, the shoulder injury, and all these teams that were interested, and where he ultimately ended up?
Well, I think it's karma, first of all, because, I am not a fan of these athletes who think they are worth more than they are, okay? Listen, I'm a big believer in you as a professional athlete, you as any industry that pays people a lot of money, right? You are worth what the market says you're worth, okay? And so Jeff Hoffman basically told the Phillies, thanks for all the opportunities, go bleep yourself because I want to go get more money, all right? And winning is not important to Jeff Hoffman because if winning was important, the Blue Jays wouldn't have been his destination, okay? He wanted to get the most money. Go ahead.
I will respond to that. Listen, he could have gotten good money anywhere, right? But the two teams that were mentioned were the Orioles and the Braves. So it's not like winning. Those are two winning organizations right there.
But he landed with the Blue Jays.
The Orioles, I know, because of the shoulder problem. So he missed out on a few $1 million because of that shoulder issue. And I don't think that's a fair point because the Orioles and Braves were in on it.
Fine, but still, I think there's karma here because no one talked about this potential injury until this news came out. What was it, last week, I believe? It was like Friday. It came out that apparently the Orioles had failed him for a physical, for those who didn't hear the story. And to me, I think it explains why he's no longer here, Nick, because he is not here because there was a health-related issue, and Hoffman wanted to go into free agency and lie to everybody about it. So I'm fine. Let him go to Toronto. Let him go die on the grapevine. Let him be the next relief pitcher who was an all-star or becomes a nobody in 5 years. Because you know what? You gave him his shot in Philadelphia. He could have stayed here. He could have gotten the shoulder taken care of. But instead, he kept it a secret. He went to free agency. And the Orioles were probably like, what the heck, man? We thought you were not damaged goods. Phillies knew he was damaged goods. Now he's pitching for the Blue Jays.
Yeah, and it's fascinating because the Phillies also signed a player who's had some injury problems, right? Throughout the past couple of years in Romano. He's been hurt too. So, I don't think they were willing
upside,
to pay.
Though. Different upside.
Definitely. And I don't think they were willing to pay Hoffman that much, especially since, remember, we've talked about it multiple times. Relievers are very volatile. From year to year, you don't know what you're getting from relievers. So I still see a guy out there that's available that I want the Phillies to go after, and that's Tanner Scott. They have to go out there and get him. That would be a massive sign. That would help this bullpen a ton, Josh.
Can you get him for a discount deal?
No, not at a discount. I don't think you're getting him on Tanner on a discount because he's been so good over the past few years. But they should go out and spend the money to do it. I think they need another arm
for another left-hander.
Estevez is still out there, but why not? Estevez is still out there as well. Do you bring him back? He's probably cheaper than you would think. He wasn't that great with the Phillies. He was okay, but he's had a history of being relatively solid for the most part. They need another reliever, Josh. That's the whole point.
I know.
Left-handed, right-handed, I don't care. They need some guy that they can hit outs in high leverage situations.
I mean, do you really need $2 million? This team's obsession with left-handed everything is ridiculous.
It's fine. Who cares? Lefty, righty. I don't care, Josh. Just get me a solid reliever who can pitch in high leverage situations, and that costs you a postseason. That I can't have anymore. And now you're getting my blood pressure up. We're moving on to nugget number 3 because you're getting my blood pressure up. In this segment you did who's hot and who's cold just a little bit ago. So I was listening. I made a switch on the final nugget today, Josh, because I was listening to your QB rankings of who's hot, who's cold. They weren't terrible. I was listening. You're going through 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. They were fine. We were getting there. But when we got towards the top to like 2 and 1, your list, you lost me with not having Mahomes at 1. You cannot have a list or any quarterback ranking for that matter if you don't have Mahomes at 1. And then I cannot have Matt Stafford over Lamar Jackson. It just can't happen. I know he's won a Super Bowl. I know he's been playing well, but I can't have him over Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson has been phenomenal all season long. He's been in the MVP conversation. I know you put Josh Allen 1, but there is no way, no how, with the choker at 1 and Josh Allen and Mahomes at 2, who's won multiple Super Bowls, can't have it. So if you want to rehash
what did you call Josh Allen?
A choker.
Lamar Jackson's choked way more times than Josh Allen.
No. Josh Allen's choked way more than Lamar Jackson.
Oh, okay. One time.
In bigger moments. He doesn't want anything
Lamar
either.
Jackson choked in the AFC Championship game.
I'm putting Josh Allen over Lamar Jackson. Say your list real quick for me, and I'll tell you mine.
1 is Allen. 2 is Mahomes. 3 is Stafford. 4 is Lamar.
Oh, my gosh. Keep going.
5 was Jalen Hurts.
Okay.
Number 6 was Jaden Daniels. 7 was Jared Goff, and 8 was C.J. Stroud.
You put Daniels over Goff, too? I missed that one.
Well, because, again, what does Jared Goff do that's better than Jaden Daniels?
Jared Goff's been to a Super Bowl. He's been.
That's not the question I asked. That is not the question I asked. This is not a team accomplishment award, Nick.
No.
This is, if you were starting your football team right now, Jaden Daniels or Jared Goff?
I'd go Jared Goff just based on the experience. I would go Jared Goff over Jaden Daniels, no doubt about it. Yes, based on experience in the postseason, he's got the better roster. I'm taking Jared Goff, no doubt about it.
You really are an old man. You and Billy need to hang out because you're the guy who says, I'm going to go to this mechanic and I've been going to him and my family for 30 years, even though he's not as good as the other guy down the street and he's more expensive than the other guy. He's got experience.
Let me give you this list. It goes Mahomes. It goes Allen at 2, Lamar at 3, Stafford at 4, Hurts at 5, Goff at 6, Daniels at 7, 8 with Stroud.
So really quick. So we both agree that Jalen Hurts is 5. We're both.
I was fine with you there. I was fine with you there. You can make an argument for Goff and Jaden Daniels.
So what is your? So really quick. So let's backtrack a little bit. Right. So you have Lamar over Stafford.
Absolutely.
Why?
Because Lamar Jackson is more talented than Matt Stafford. He can run. He's got less weapons than Matthew Stafford. And I want Lamar Jackson right now, who's playing at an MVP level and could do it all, over Matthew Stafford. I would take Lamar over Matthew Stafford any day of the week, multiple-time MVP. He's going to get one eventually. He's going to get past and get over that hump eventually. He's only lost to Mahomes, and so is Josh Allen. But you can't not have Mahomes at 1. That one is where you lost me. You totally lost me, Hennig.
Well, first of all, okay, those are two different things you said, all right? I'm not going to let you get away with this, okay? These are two different things you said. So what you're saying is, it's not that you think Lamar, you're taking Lamar over Stafford for talent reasons.
Yes, 1,000%.
Because Stafford is the better resume.
He does have the better resume.
In terms of the postseason.
He does.
So to you, in this situation, so you take Goff over Daniels because of experience, but you don't take Stafford over Lamar because of experience.
Well, Lamar's been in the league forever, too. It's not like he's a rookie. Jaden Daniels is a rookie. He's not proven anything yet. I can't put him over Jared Goff at this point. Not yet. Lamar's not a rookie.
I just think you got a double standard there, my friend.
No, it's not, because Jaden Daniels is a rookie. I'm only putting Stroud has just not played well this year for the most part.
But see, the other problem is this is like a politics argument where it's like you and I are walking to the same body of water from completely different angles. Because I'm saying I'm ranking them based on there's 2 minutes left in the game. It's the NFC or AFC championship game with the Super Bowl.
And you're not putting Mahomes there? And you're not putting Mahomes at 1?
Because I think Josh Allen was the best quarterback on the planet this year. Josh Allen cut his turnovers and interceptions down by 75%. He is leading a team with nobody on there. Mahomes has the luxury of Travis Kelce and Andy Reid. Who on earth Does Josh Allen have Khalif Raymond? I mean, come on. I mean, Shakir Rakif. I keep messing up the guy's name.
I don't care what year it is. I don't care that Josh Allen had a great regular season. I am never doubting Patrick Mahomes. Just not doing it. Never will do.
And if that's your position, I'm fine with it. But let me ask you about the others. 2 minutes left in the game. Super Bowl. Game on the line. Stafford or Lamar?
Probably Lamar. I'm still going Lamar.
No, the answer's Stafford.
I trust Lamar. I really do. I think this year I trust Lamar more than Stafford.
We have to agree to disagree.
All right. 3 pack of nuggets for you today, Josh Hennig. That was fun.
Nick, I will speak with you tomorrow here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. Take care, my friend.
All right, I'll talk to you.
And, of course, Nick Earnshaw, his Knicks Nuggets, as always, being brought to you by Ocean Casino Resort, the Fanatics Sportsbook at the Gallery Bar booking games in the Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. Go to the Gallery, go to Ocean, go for the win. For more information, visit theoceanac.com. A little back and forth with me and Earnshaw. Good stuff there. You texters are always hilarious. Steven Vettner chimes in, says, hang up on Nick. Your list was fine. I swapped Stafford and Lamar. Josh Allen is not a choker. He's the best quarterback in the NFL right now. That's Steven Vettner. I'm not hanging up on Earnshaw. Listen, we can have a disagreement. It's fine. A man who knows a lot about football, though, is joining us next. Adam Caplan for today's football at 4:30 here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. More Eagles talk coming up next.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
And if you're not down with that, we got 2 words for you.
On 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
With GMF financing to qualified buyers, excludes Traverse and Corvette, excludes prior sales.
Start the new year right in a new Chevy from Bennett, where we sell new Chevys at the true GM supplier employee price. Yeah, you pay what our employees pay, not a penny more. Plus, at Bennett Chevrolet, you keep all the rebates. That's incredible. That's right, you save both ways, saving you up to 20% off the sticker. But it gets even better, because right now there's available 0.9% financing, saving you even more. 0.9. And get this, if you're looking for a pre-owned, Bennett Chevy will pay you a minimum $10,000 for any old clunker you can get here towards any pre-owned in stock. You'll get at least 10 grand for total junk. Imagine how much you'll get for a good trade. And one more thing, Bennett's sales team is paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. That makes a huge difference. No hype, no pressure. Together, let's drive. Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
I've just been feeling so sluggish lately. You should try the Metamucil 2-week challenge. The Metamucil 2-week challenge? Yeah, Metamucil 4-in-1 fiber helps trap and remove the waste that weighs you down. Start your daily routine now, and in 2 weeks, you could be feeling great. Well, it's been 2 weeks. How you feeling? Lighter and feeling great.
If you want to feel lighter by promoting digestive health, sign up to take the 2-week challenge at Metamucil.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Tune in to the Bet365 Play of the Day during the Sports Bash with me, Mike Gill, every weekday afternoon at 5:45 on 97.3 ESPN. Made possible by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
Progressive Insurance presents the Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN. NFL, the Eagles will now play the LA Rams on Sunday in the NFC Divisional Round as the Rams beat the Minnesota Vikings on Monday night and have won 6 of their last 7. The only loss for the Rams during that stretch came in Week 18 when they rested starters. Philadelphia did lose linebacker Nakobe Dean for the postseason with the knee injury he suffered against the Packers. Philadelphia beat the Rams back in Week 12, 37-20. NHL, the Flyers are back on the ice tonight in Columbus, where they'll take on the Blue Jackets. Back-to-back games for the Flyers, who beat Florida Monday night 4-3. Noah Coates had 2 goals, both in the third period. Morgan Frost also scored. Philadelphia has won 2 straight. Sixers will be hosting Oklahoma City tonight, facing the team with the best record in the Western Conference. The Sixers are coming off a loss Sunday to the Orlando Magic. Progressive Insurance, bundle auto and home, renters or condo, and save with Progressive. I'm Tony Desiri, and that's your Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting rules for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop, opt out. Consult a doctor prior to use.
Wow, you look amazing. What have you been doing?
I'm sure you've heard of Ozempic, Wegovy, and the other GLP-1 medications, right? Well, I found this great company called Zelfie. If you qualify, their providers can prescribe medications like Ozempic and Wegovy and other GLP-1 medications that are 80 to 90% less expensive, all 100% online.
I can get GLP-1 medications for 80 to 90% less and do it all online? No doctor's office or pharmacy?
Yes, Zelfie can provide semaglutide or tirzepatide, the active ingredients in Ozempic and other expensive GLP-1s, but for 80 to 90% less and shipped directly to your door.
How do I get started with Zelfie?
Just send them a text.
Text CARE to 200-300 to get started today with Zelfie. Get the same active ingredients in Wegovy or Ozempic, but for 80 to 90% less and 100% online. Don't wait. Text CARE to 200-300 right now for a link to your exclusive offer. Text CARE to 200-300. That's CARE to 200-300. CARE to 200-300.
From the Towns Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. The weather story for tonight and tomorrow: wind plus cold, our favorite wintertime combination. Watch for a few clouds this evening, then clear and breezy overnight. Low 23, the wind chill closer to 10. Tomorrow gets even windier, sunny and cold, high 32. Wind chill might be stuck in the teens. Thursday will be better with lighter winds, partly to mostly cloudy, maybe a late day snow shower, high 31. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
New Jersey packs a lot of wow into every winter getaway. We got wows to knock your ski socks off, wows to warm your soul, and wows to blow your mind. New Jersey, it's one wow after another. Find your wow at visitnj.org. New Jersey, little state, lot of wow.
97.3 ESPN presents The Sports Bash with Mike Gill. It's time for Football at 4 with Adam Caplan, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast.
I give my heart and soul to this franchise, as so many of us do.
Now live, this is Football at 4.
Josh Hennig filling for Mike Gill here on 97.3 ESPN. Yes, Football at 4 at 4:30. Adam Caplan joins us, NFL insider at Caplan NFL. Of course, the Inside the Birds podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. Like, subscribe on YouTube. And, of course, don't forget about InsideTheBirds.com, as well as their Patreon page and the Discord, where you get all the extra insider information as the Eagles are preparing to play the Rams again. Adam Caplan, how you doing today?
Josh, I'm well. I hope you're doing well. And yeah, look, the Eagles have that nice win, no question about it. They're now into the divisional round. They're 2 games away from being in the Super Bowl, so they're rolling right now, particularly defensively. Run game, got to get the pass game going. But look, they're reeling for the loss of Nakobe Dean. It's such a sad story. Devastating knee injury, torn patella tendon. It's his left, by the way. Jeff Mosher and I, we had a great interview with Aaron Borgman, who is a former assistant athletic trainer for the Eagles and Chiefs, and he kind of walked us through the injury, just the rehab, how long it takes. It's typically a few months longer than an ACL. It's not as bad as it used to be 15, 20 years ago. You're worried if the guy could play again. Now it's just a matter of when he'll be able to play. So obviously, being on the rehab side, there's no way Dean will be ready for week 1. It's, can he come back by midpoint, and how good could he be? But unfortunately, Josh, next season is his final year of his rookie deal, and he was playing towards something pretty special. It's sad. There have been so many great stories, particularly with his defense this season, and he was one of them, but unfortunately he won't be playing the rest of the season.
So now what do the Eagles do moving forward? We know Zach Bond's having a great season. We know the Eagles have now picked up Nicholas Morrow from the Buffalo Bills this past year in the practice squad. We also know they have guys like Jeremiah Trotter Jr. He was a guy that Vic Fangio mentioned at the presser today. And, of course, you got Oren Burks, the guy who was on the 49ers during their Super Bowl run.
What I found interesting today was that, Vic Fangio is great, the Eagles defensive coordinator. If you ask a question, he rarely will avoid answering it. He just seems to like answering questions. So Vic did say, look, he was asked would they play some of a young linebacker, Jeremiah Trotter Jr. He said, yeah, he may rotate both. It sounds like he's probably going to do it based on what he said today. So I thought that was really interesting. Now, Nick Morrow knows this defense. He's played in it before. So that helps them because they needed a fourth linebacker. Dallas Gant would have been it, but Dallas Gant's a guy that is an undrafted free agent, and you need someone who's played before. So Morrow, if they have someone as a fourth linebacker for the game, more likely than not, as long as practice goes well for Morrow this week, he would be that fourth guy. So that's how they'll have to do it. Myself, Jeff, and Andrew DiCecco did a really cool show. We did another roundtable show, and we actually addressed this for a while about how it could look. Now, they could do it, Josh, situationally, where you could go with Aaron Burks as the base defense, particularly when you need guys against the run. Let's not forget Burks is 6'3" and 1/10 of an inch, so he's got way better length than Trot Jr. And obviously Trot Jr. is a young linebacker who doesn't have the playing experience, and he's also a rookie. So they could do it that way. Just they could do it situationally, but look, Josh, it's a big loss. Dean had a breakout season. After an inconsistent training camp, he really had a breakout season. Really smart football player, tough, and for a guy who's not the biggest guy in the world, he played bigger than his listed size at shorter than 6 feet, and it's a shame. And by the way, you could argue he was on his way to having his best game of the season.
Absolutely. So coming out of the Packers game, the big loss is Nakobe Dean. But sticking with the defense, Adam Caplan, NFL insider from the Inside the Birds podcast at InsideTheBirds.com. Outside of Dean, the Eagles did have a very good game, 3 interceptions, the defensive discipline. Talk to us about it, Adam.
Yeah, look, you got the one special teams play, Burks, of course, the first play of the game. Although, by rule, he did lower his head to initiate contact, and that should have been flagged for personal foul, but was not. Doesn't matter now, of course, because they got the turnover, and that really set the tone for the team. Their defense was phenomenal in this game. I know there were 2 or 3 run plays that they could have done better. One was the big one by Josh Jacobs, but before that long run, he was averaging 2 yards per carry. Out in space, there were a couple plays in the pass game that could have tackled better, particularly against Jaden Reed. We saw this in the first game in Brazil against Jaden Reed. They got to tackle better, but they'll clean that up. Vic Fangio said it today. But overall, the defense was great. And, Josh, this has been – look, the story of this team has been Barkley and the defense. There's some stories about this team. We just talked about Dean. Of course, Zach Bond who's a first-team All-Pro, which is incredible. And Fangio was asked today about it. And, look, nobody saw this coming. It's been a great story, but their discipline is so good on the back end. And look, with the Rams here now, I know they've had their success against the Rams the last 2 seasons. They won in L.A. both times. This game was a little bit more convincing in Week 12. But you know what's coming here? There's a lot of 11 personnel. 3 receivers, 1 back, 1 tight end. Tyler Higbee, by the way, it sounds like he's going to play, who was on his way to having his best game in the last couple of years. But he got hurt before halftime with a chest injury. He went to the hospital. The Rams say he should be available. Tyler Higbee is the guy you got to watch out for. He had 3 touchdowns, I think, in the COVID year in 2020 against them, where there were no fans at the Lynx. Josh, you might remember that game. But the bottom line is they're playing great football defensively. The buy-in's fantastic. And you got to feel good about it. There's no question about it. And look, I thought, other than that one big Josh Jacobs run, they stopped the run. You know it's going to be coming with Kyren Williams. Kyren Williams is their back, by the way, who had that bad fumble against the Eagles in that Week 12 game. And look, you got to love that offensively. Also, Hurts, for everyone criticizing him, and some of it's warranted. He's not turning the ball over. Like he's a winning quarterback. You'll take that. But, Josh, coming out of the game, the pass game's got to be better.
By the way, Tyler Higbee, I remember that game because I believe it was Alex Singleton was one of the linebackers that got burned on one of those plays. And I just remember all the people, him and, what was it, Nate Gary, they tried to get him out there, and they both got burned in that game.
Yeah, Nate Gary's no longer in the NFL, but Alex Singleton actually signed a big free agent deal with the Broncos and unfortunately suffered an ACL injury, but a good football player and a great guy, by the way. But so coming out of the game, Josh, look, the passing game, it's really strange because this game looked very vanilla, and we're going to talk to Greg Cosell tonight on Patreon, patreon.com/InsideTheBirds to be a member. I know there have been a number of people who have heard this promo that I'm giving on the show on Football at 4, and have signed up, so we hope to see you tonight. And the members take it over. They ask Greg whatever they want, other than special teams questions. And I know the passing game's going to come up tonight. I wonder what Greg looked like. Greg's what he thought of the coaching tape, the All-22. We'll certainly cover that tonight. But that's the pass game's got to be better. But the other thing is, Josh, you got this A.J. Brown left knee injury. The word we're getting is that he didn't look great running in the game. So we're going to ask Greg about that tonight. We mentioned the Nick Morrow move. Look, you worry about it because you lose Nakobe Dean. Now Burks becomes a starter. And then what we don't know is how they're going to rotate. We talk about the potential of situational rotation there at inside backer, but that's a big loss for them. But the one thing, the pass game's got to be better. We'll see what the weather looks like. The weather is beautiful on Sunday here. The weather was not a factor. It was in mid-40s. There was next to no wind. Now, right now, the early call, not for AccuWeather, but my early call, looks like high 30s, low 40s, potential of rain, maybe flurries or whatever. But look, the bottom line is when they drop back, it's got to be better. And I'd like to see Kellen Moore help out Hurts a little bit more. If it's not working downfield, you saw the third quarter, Josh. He moved Goddard in. They ran some quick slants, got it out of Jalen's hands, and he was more comfortable. This is a whatever it takes game. Whatever it takes to win this game, you got to do it. That's called coaching, and I expect that to happen.
We go back to the A.J. Brown point for a minute, Adam. I know a lot of people were griping about why didn't A.J. Brown get more targets, but I have to think that if the knee is bothering him that much, that has to be a part of it, right? The fact that the guy is not 100% healthy and might not be able to run all the routes he usually does.
Well, so on your point that you just made, and Andrew DiCecco brings this up in this roundtable show, which will be posted in the next half an hour to 45 minutes. I think it's actually going to be on at 5 Eastern. We're going to load it. It'll be live on YouTube and all podcasting platforms. But I guess the deep route is the one where he just couldn't go get it, and we're not really sure what the issue was. But we know it's his left knee, and he didn't. From our early understanding is he didn't look quite the same. Now, when this game comes up on Sunday, if the weather allows it, you could throw in the Rams secondary. Did you see what Josh Allen did against them in Los Angeles last month? So you could throw against the secondary. That's not the problem. It's if you could protect. The Eagles protected Jalen great against the Rams when they were in L.A., when they scored, 37 points, and they rolled in the second half. Barkley killed them. But, look, we know they're a run-first team. We get it. But when you throw it, they got to be more successful. Other than that, the Eagles are playing very good football right now. The offensive line had a couple issues when Green Bay rarely blitzes. When they did, they had a couple issues. I'm sure they'll clean that up. But other than that, Josh, this is a game the Eagles should win. We'll talk more about this on Friday's Football at 4, but you got to feel good, though, overall here. Other than the Dean injury, now we'll see what the first injury report comes out tomorrow. Hopefully there'll be no pop-up injuries, which we've seen. Devontae Smith with a back problem that he's had for about a month. We got to watch that. And then Darius Slay, remember, he did what he's done throughout the season. He'll leave the game for a little bit to come back.
Yes.
You have the elbow injury. We got to keep an eye on that as well this week.
He actually did address that on his podcast. He said that he had a stinger on his elbow, and they put an extra pad on his elbow to protect his elbow. So, yeah, he said he lost feeling in his hand at one point.
Ooh. That's good. Good nugget. Because, by the way, you remember what happened with Jordan Love. What happened? On his right elbow, he said after the game he couldn't feel it. And that's interesting, yeah. The thing we have to understand about Darius Slay is that Slay is the oldest starting corner of the National Football League. He turned 34 on January 1st. So, look, when you get older, Josh, you feel it a little bit more. And the good thing is Isaiah Rodgers turned out to be a really good third corner. I assume, as he was in that look, the Eagles may play a lot of sub packages, a lot of nickel in this game because the Rams play a ton of 11 personnel. Or, of course, if you play dime, Rodgers could be out there. Or at certain times you might have Rodgers over DeJean, depending on how you want to deploy it. We understand that DeJean is their nickel. but you don't always play DeGene as the nickel defender. Sometimes you might want to play Rodgers, depending on how you want to formationally put guys out there. But the bottom line is, Josh, the Eagles are super deep in the secondary. They weren't last year. You saw what happened. They match up very well against the Rams. I don't worry about it, but more on that on Friday's segment. We'll see how the injuries go for both teams this week. We'll see what the first injury report looks like, but I felt pretty good. The game, by the way, I thought the Eagles would win by more than 10. They did. They certainly left some points on the board, but you got to feel good, though, about the run game and their defense, and hopefully Hurts gets himself together and with Kellen Moore, just like they did against Pittsburgh, where I would argue that was the best game from Hurts in the last 2 seasons.
He's NFL insider Adam Caplan at Caplan NFL on the Twitter X platform. Of course, Inside the Birds podcast. Subscribe, download wherever you get your podcasts. Search Inside the Birds. Subscribe on YouTube, InsideTheBirds.com. And as Adam mentioned earlier, the Patreon chats with guys like Greg Cosell, which also gets you access to the Discord account. Adam, great stuff today. We will talk to you again on Friday.
Thank you. See ya.
And, of course, football at 4 here on the Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN is being brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Still to come, we have Casey Joyner, the football scientist, one thought on every game. And we'll get Casey's first look ahead to the Rams versus the Eagles, which will be this Sunday. Merrill Reese, Mike Quick calling all the action here on your home for Eagles football in South Jersey and entire NFL playoffs. We have all 4 playoff games this weekend, and you can only hear it here on 97.3 ESPN FM here in South Jersey. More Eagles talk still to come. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on a Tuesday afternoon live in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios on 97.3 ESPN.
This is the home of Philadelphia Eagles playoff football. It's the NFC Divisional Round of the playoffs as the Eagles host the LA Rams this Sunday at the Link.
Nice catch by Goddard, who breaks the tackle across the 5. Touchdown!
Goddard, beast, pushes him in the face twice and into the end zone.
Eagles radio network coverage begins at 2 p.m. Merrill Reese and Mike Quick call all the action starting at 3 p.m. This is South Jersey's official home for Eagles playoff football. 97.3 ESPN.
So you need a new car or SUV, but you're upside down in your trade, but you're worried about your down payment, but your credit is less than perfect. Bring your butts to any Matt Blatt Kia today. With over 1,100 new Kias, all with 0 down, 0 payments until April, or get $10,000 in bonus cash, or 0% for 72 months on every clearly marked Kia EV6 and 9. Buried in a loan or lease? Matt Blatt Kia wants to get you released. New all-wheel drive Kia Sportage or Sorento, 1.9% for 60 months. Matt Blatt Kia. With our PA and New Jersey Kia superstores, Abington, Egg Harbor Township, Toms River, or right to your front door.
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
With approved credit, $1,389 per thousand finance. Not all will qualify. Credit may affect down payment. Offers can't be combined. Go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details or 888-505-6670. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer, except for licensing, registration, and taxes through KMF. Rebates and incentives to dealer. Expires 2/4/25. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and on Route 37 in Toms River.
Someone had a birthday.
Yep, 50. Can't believe it.
50 years of wisdom.
Great segue. We have health news, a CDC update.
Pneumococcal vaccination is now recommended for adults 50 or older. Says here, we're over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50.
I don't love those odds.
Same. Look what I found. Pfizer's Prevnar 20 is proven to help protect adults against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease in just 1 dose, and millions have already gotten it.
Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you have a severe allergy to its ingredients. A weakened immune system may lower your response. Common side effects include injection site pain and swelling, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138. Visit Prevnar20.com or talk to your doctor or pharmacist.
I'm on Prevnar20.com now, scheduling my appointment.
Good idea. And happy 50th.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest, the last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers?
eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying, just beautiful.
Whatever you love, find it on eBay. eBay, things people love.
Hey, AI, how many touchdowns did the Eagles score in the 2023 season?
The Eagles scored 49 touchdowns in the 2023 season.
Hey, AI, I had a fall recently. I need to recover. Please help me walk again.
I'm sorry, but that is beyond my capabilities.
Hey, AI, my parents are getting older and I can't care for them by myself. Can you help me care for them?
I'm sorry, that is beyond my capabilities. AI will never replace care, but here's what I found for the best care near you.
Autumn Lake Healthcare Centers, trusted leaders in skilled nursing rehabilitation and senior care, and proud partners of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds. With that kind of money, you could go big time and switch to the expensive shampoo with amino acids. Sure, you don't know what those are or why you need them, but it sounds very impressive. And if you switch and save hundreds, you can massage it into your scalp every day. Now, if only you can get people to lean toward your head to smell those aminos. Switch to Progressive and you could save big time. For shampoo, Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states. Potential savings will vary.
South Jersey Gas has a new financing offer to upgrade your home's energy efficiency without breaking the bank. And as a participating contractor, Broadleaf's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning can help. Get up to $25,000 at 0% interest for 84 months when you switch to Energy Star rated equipment. Upgrade your furnace, boiler, water heater, your entire system with no interest, no money down, and payments right on your utility bill. Call Broadleaf's for a free quote at 609-390-3907 or visit broadleafs.net.
Are you annoyingly inattentive? Do you watch a movie and then ask a zillion questions because you weren't paying attention? Do people ask, how do you sleep at night? Then you should get a mattress from Mattress Firm. They can help any...
Hello, Jersey. This is Shaquille O'Neal. You all know Jersey is my home state, and I've got something special for you. Introducing my first ever scratch-off game, Jersey Giant Winnings, from the New Jersey Lottery, with a top prize of $200,000. And guess what? I'm officially renaming the state Shaq Jersey. You're Shaq Jerseyans now. Play the Jersey Giant Winnings scratch-off.
Must be 18 or older to buy a lottery ticket. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
You're listening to The Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig live in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios here on 97.3 ESPN. We have the full announcement from the Eagles about all their roster moves. So Howie Roseman decided that Tuesday, January 14th was the day to shuffle up the roster. Obviously, a lot of this is in response to Nakobe Dean's patellar tendon tear in his knee. So here's the full list. The Eagles have signed Nicholas Morrow and Elijah Cooks to the practice squad. They have released wide receiver Joseph Ngata. They have placed Nakobe Dean on injury reserve, and they have signed Paris Campbell to the active roster. So that is the current set of moves with Nakobe Dean. Again, for those who don't remember, Nick Morrow, he played for the Eagles last year. And there's a couple of interesting notes about Nicholas Morrow, okay? Number one, he wore the green dot last year for the Eagles defense. So he was the guy who was doing the play calls for Philadelphia last year. So it's a very interesting note now that you have another guy in the building who is very familiar with having play calls. The second note is what you heard Adam Caplan mention, which is this is a guy who does have experience as a blitzer. It was against the Washington Commanders last year where he had 3 sacks in one game. And he is someone who, he's a boomer bust player, okay? I'm not going to act like Nicholas Morrow is some legendary linebacker they're adding for depth here. He is here to just be another body to help this team because they're not going to play either Oren Burks or Jeremiah Trotter Jr. or Nicholas Morrow every snap. They're going to rotate these guys. So the defense is probably going to have some sort of semblance where on running downs they'll have Burks out there, and then on passing downs they'll have Morrow or Trotter out there depending on what their plan is. Because there's 2 issues with the Eagles defense right now. Number one, if you ask Bond drop in the coverage, are you asking the other linebacker to become the blitzer? We know Jeremiah Trotter Jr. did a lot of blitzing when he was in college at Clemson. And we know that Nicholas Morrow is a capable blitzer as well. Do those guys come in the games and then the defense starts getting predictable? Because you don't want that. You don't want the defense start looking like, hey, when we bring in this guy, this is the play that we're calling. So you can't do that, because I don't know if Trotter Jr. or Morrow are good enough in coverage to fill the void in the Kobe Dean. That was one of Dean's strengths. That is, both him and Bond could either blitz or drop in coverage. Now without Dean, you're losing some of that, some of what Philadelphia like to do with the linebackers. Now there's ways to cover it up, I know. But it's definitely something to keep an eye on. How does Philadelphia send these guys out there? More football talk with Casey Joyner, football scientist, next.
It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey tonight on Rock 104.1 and the Rock 104.1 mobile app. Listen as Tim Saunders and Todd Fedork bring you all the exciting play-by-play action.
They score! Konechny on the one-timer, and TK makes no mistake, the power play goal.
It's Flyers Blue Jackets tonight. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey on South Jersey's classic rock station, Rock 104.1 and the Rock 104.1 mobile app.
There she is, founder and CEO. High five.
Dave can't stop celebrating with every business owner in town.
All right, Baker Man, high five.
He's sharing the excitement of big savings with the Comcast Business 5-year price lock guarantee.
Up top, bike shop. Yeah.
It's 5 years of gig speed internet.
Quick, high five.
5 years of advanced security.
5 years.
And 5 years of a great rate that won't change.
Yeah, law partners. Chamberlain, Messethorpe, Dubois.
All from the company with 99.9% network reliability. Switch today and get the 5-year price lock guarantee.
5 years.
It's back, but only for a limited time.
Woo!
Powering 5 years of savings, powering possibilities. Comcast Business.
Can't forget you, voiceover guy.
Ah, thanks, Dave.
High five.
Ends 3/9/25. Guaranteed rate applies to monthly service charge for new customers on qualifying internet bundle, excluding taxes and fees. Other restrictions apply.
The county just requested more electric charging stations.
Orders have really amped up at Able Electric.
We need 3 more at First and Main, and we just got another hotel chain.
It's no shock. Able Electric needs able electricians.
Grocery store wants charging stations too.
And fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Put our matching platform to work so you can spend less time searching and more time connecting with talented candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest, the last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers? eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying. Just beautiful.
Whatever you love, find it on eBay. eBay. Things people love.
Hey, it's Mike Gill from the Sports Bash. The action is heating up this playoff season at ESPN Bet Sportsbook. Lock in your touchdown picks, check out trending parlays, and increase your winning with profit boosts. New customers can bet $10 to get $100 in bonus bets and unlock 30 days of ESPN Plus. Download the ESPN Bet Sportsbook app and sign up with the promo code RADIO100. That's RADIO100 to get started today. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Progressive's Auto Quote Explorer lets you easily compare direct rates from different insurance companies, so you can be confident you're getting the right one, even if it's not with Progressive. Way more confident than you were when you tried online gaming. Who knew 12-year-old boys could be so mean? And where did they learn to swear like that? 2 hours of losing to these underage trash talkers, and you're starting to question if maybe you really should stick to pickleball and other boomer stuff. So use Progressive's Auto Quote Explorer and be confident you're getting insurance that's right for you. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Over 40 years ago, John Jenkins Sr. invented the heated bench for football players. Today, Jenkins Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning brings that same innovation and reliability to your home or business. Need plumbing repairs or a new gas furnace, boiler, or water heater? Ask about utility loans up to $25,000 at 0% for 7 years and rebates up to $29.50. Call 609-641-6440 or visit jenkinsandsons.com.
Home of the Sports Bash with Mike Gill, 97.3 ESPN.
That sounds great, guys.
WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort Studio, here's Mike Gill.
This young Rams defense has matured and gotten better. The problem is the way that they won this most recent game was with a dominant front. Nobody's dominating the Eagles up front. No. The Eagles are the dominant front. They are the ones who knock. When they want to run the ball, they run the ball. The Rams are going to have to figure out a way to stop that run and force Eagles into like drop back passing situations to allow them to eat. The problem is the Eagles never really, because how good their defense is and how good their rushing attack is, they're rarely put into situations where they must drop back.
That was Dominique Foxworth this morning on ESPN's Get Up. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on Tuesday here on 97.3 ESPN. We now have the entire wild card weekend completed thanks to last night, the Rams taking down the Vikings. The Rams did look really good last night, but can they look that good against the Eagles? We'll ask the football scientist Casey Joyner. One thought on every game. Our first look at the Eagles and Rams, all that and more with Casey Joyner here on the Sports Bash, brought to you by Cooper University Healthcare. We're doing something extraordinary for families down the shore. Casey, welcome in. How you doing, my friend?
Pretty good. Pretty fun weekend of games. You know, even last night's game, for what it was kind of entertaining, and the Manning cast made it even more so.
Yes. Belichick, that hearty laugh they got out of him at one point. I didn't know if he was going to stop laughing. I was like, wow. I think Belichick. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. He looks so mad through the first of the game. You could see Eli and Peyton going, did we make this guy mad? Does he not want to be here? He looked like during the season, he was friendly, happier Belichick. He was like, media Belichick. And then at last night, that game was like, you are interrupting my study time here. He looked quite upset at first, and then you get into it a little bit later. But he didn't want to be there.
No, he didn't. Let's keep going with that game last night, Casey. Rams completely dominate the Vikings. So let's start with the Rams defense, because a lot of people are curious. Hey, how on earth did the Rams defense do what they did last night? So my question to you is, how much of last night was the Rams defense, and how much of it last night was the Vikings maybe reeling a little bit?
Belichick may not have wanted to be there, but he still, as always, gave fantastic insights. I mean, it's a comedy show that the Manning cast is a lot, but when he's there for that first half, he is just focused in. And he said, look, the Vikings can't afford to get into drop back mode. They can't pass block well enough. They cannot be dropping back every play in this game. If the Rams get him in that situation, it's a really bad look. And there was one time where he got really frustrated with Darnold too. He said there are many times when Justin Jefferson will be open on tape, and Darnold won't get him the ball. Like Darnold's not sending it to him. And there was one point at which Jefferson was open on play, and Darnold took a sack of somebody else. You could just see Belichick just threw his hand. He was he was so frustrated. It's not even your team, buddy. But he was so frustrated because he said they don't get the ball off to Jefferson off the snap. But you think the guy, didn't he catch like 100+ passes this year? I mean, you'd think they get him the ball often enough. He's a focal point of their offense, but didn't matter. That's the thing. The Rams were able to pass rush because the Vikings can't pass block, and they were able to do things because Jefferson, as good as the other receivers are, they basically took Jefferson out of the game, and they couldn't go to a second option. Thinking, look, Jalen Hurts is not Sam Darnold. We saw what Sam Darnold was when you get a big pass rush in his face, and I don't think Jalen Hurts is going to face the same issues that Darnold faced. So kudos to the Rams, but I don't think that carries over.
I know the Rams won those 5 games after playing the Eagles, but my question to you is, were those 5 wins because of their competition or because the Rams got on a roll because they beat the Saints, they barely beat the Jets and the Cardinals? It's not like they had the one game against the Bills, but the Bills still score, 42 points against their defense. So are the Rams here because they're a really great team, or are they here because the journey led them here?
I don't count much in the Week 18 game, but they did give up 30 points to Seattle in a game that Seattle wanted. Maybe the Rams didn't, but still your backups play that poorly. You can't be too happy about that. I mean, the Eagles didn't give up a bunch of points. I know Seattle's a better team than the Giants, but the Eagles played better in Week 18. Yeah, you get the 6 to San Francisco, but a banged-up San Francisco team. The Jets, hey, look, that dysfunction there just was showing up. And they did very well against the Cardinals. The Cardinals don't match up well against the Rams. That's a big part of it, too. And the Vikings didn't either. I mean, it is partially that, but I keep looking back at it. If you look at the games before that, 42 to the Bills, 37 to the Eagles. I mean, and they gave up 20 or more points in 4 straight games before the Eagles game. So I'm going, okay, the Rams defense is playing better, but the thing is, they're trying to get into slugfest games. That's not how I don't think you can get into that against the Eagles. Plus, their offense has to do better than it did last night. And mind you, they scored 27 points, but their offense did not play particularly well last night. And Cooper Kupp, he's got 5 catches in meaningful games the last 4 weeks. I mean, he's not in their offense anymore. It's Puka Nacua, and that's it. If that's what you're going to go up against the Eagles with in the playoffs, if you say we're going to beat you with just Puka Nacua, I'm like, okay, I like the Eagles' chances.
When we saw these teams play the first time round, which is, I go even, there's got to be a stat somewhere, the last time a team played 2 teams in the regular season and in the postseason. I mean, the odds got to be like 1 in a million. But when they played them last time, the Eagles basically said, we're going to run all over you, and you got to try to stop us. And they couldn't stop the Eagles' run game. And it was a huge reason why. Yeah, I mean, that was really a 14 points they allowed. That point that's touched at the end, that was for fantasy football people, Casey. Yeah. But, overall, they basically said, we're going to run the ball, we're going to keep the ball away from your offense, and that's how we're going to beat you. Is that the recipe they can repeat again?
Yeah, when you're looking, I mean, you look at and they say, okay, the Eagles had 45 rushes for 314 yards. Now, a lot of them came on the Barkley 70-yard touchdown rush and 72-yard touchdown rush. But that's the thing about the running game, is the running game, people think, oh, well, you just run so you can pass the ball and this, that, and that. No. The running game, you make the defense have to play very disciplined. If you don't play disciplined against against an offense, if you don't play disciplined run defense, those things happen, especially if you're facing Saquon Barkley. I've got at The Athletic, there's an article by Ted Nguyen. He covered the Ravens-Steelers game and showed how the Steelers were doing this particular type of run fit that just did not work. It worked once, and then everything just fell apart from there. And you have to be able to do that properly. And that's the thing. You'll test the defense and go, we're going to keep running this play. We may only get 4 yards. We may get 4 yards. Are you going to stay physical? Are you going to stay where you're supposed to be? You can stay physical and disciplined. That's the thing. You got Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore can, mind you can take Barker and just go, look, we're going to run outside zone 20 times. Let's see if you can stop it. I mean, you might wear a team down just doing that. You could just go old school power and do the same thing. But with Kellen Moore, he's going to go, all right, if you're going to go ahead and stop this thing, I'm going to do this and that and the other. I'm going to do a lot of creative things. And Barkley can run any scheme you give him. It doesn't matter what it is. Not all backs can. He can run them all equally well. So it's one of those things, if you're the Rams, you're going, we got to be disciplined, and we're going to get tested both by the back and by the scheme. And by the way, we can also go ahead and include Jalen Hurts in there too and say, fine, we'll go ahead and run some RPOs against you too while we're at it. Just give you something else to think about.
I had Ted Nguyen on my show last week here on 97.3 ESPN. So I'm very familiar with Ted's work. Casey Joyner joining us from The Athletic, at Casey Joyner on Blue Sky, Casey Joyner TFS on the Twitter X platform, Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. Casey, you mentioned Kellen Moore, and I wanted to ask you about him because on Sunday, Jalen Hurts, 6 straight completions, followed by 7 straight incompletions. So the chicken and the egg, right? Is it the quarterback? Is it the play calling? Some people say it's the play calling, Casey. Some people say it's the quarterback. Where do you land on it?
You only have so many play calling resources in a game. If you're prepping for a game, you can't just put in a million plays. There's only so many you can do. You can put in a lot. I mean, you see the size of those charts. There are obviously a lot of different plays, a lot of different variations, but really variations on the theme. And again, you're trying to vary running plays to passing plays to say, we want to get them, if we're going to run this running play, then they're going to play this type of defense so we can throw off of that look. I mean, there's a lot of things you're doing there. With the Eagles, the first thing you're doing is a running game. That's who you are. You are a running team. You've established that, and you won a Super Bowl with it before, and you've got Barkley. You can win a Super Bowl again. So if you're the Eagles, you're going, hey, look, this is who we are, and we're going to do this. And then our passing game, because I've said this many times on the show, Bobby Bowden, who could have had the greatest collection of talent in college football at the time at Florida State, said you can either have a great running game and a good passing game, or a great passing game and a good running game. You can't be great at both. And he had all the talent in the world. So if he said that, it's probably true. And that's what the Eagles are finding out, that, hey, they're great in the running game. They're good. They can be very good at the passing game, but the passing game will struggle some if you're spending your play calling resources on the ground game, which the Eagles should. So when that happens, you just got to kind of take it in stride and go, look, sometimes it's going to happen, and you find a way around it. The Eagles did.
When you think about moving forward, because you mentioned how great the run game has been, and, the Eagles are the only team in the NFL with 5 offensive linemen who received All-Pro votes this year. Is that really the key to them getting through these next 2 rounds? Is, hey, don't worry about how many times Hurts is throwing the ball. Just lean on the run game, because you got to dance with the person who got you here.
Yeah, and at this point of the season, teams can be wore down, and we've seen a couple of times during the playoffs where teams, you could just see defenses were just tired. The Vikings looked at last night. In fact, the Steelers game, do you guys, there were questions about motivation. I'm like, it's not motivation, guys. It's endurance, and it's a longer season than ever. And you've got to play all through those 17 games to get to this playoff game, and you're playing at got a team playing at a high level. It's tough to keep your emotional charge the whole way through. The Chargers looked a little wore out and things. So if you're the Eagles, you're going, yep, that's the way we want to do it. We want to go ahead and wear you out and say, Rams, yeah, we had a tough game, but so did you. And you guys, you're a team that's shown that you don't play the run particularly well, and you can be worn down. If you're the Eagles, that's exactly what you want to do, and say, we're going to wear you guys down, grind it out, and give you that sort of look, because in the fourth quarter comes, we're going to be stronger than you are. And I think it's an old school type of approach, and I think the Eagles do it really well, and I think that's what the Eagles need to stick with it. Say, hey, because every team in the league, Saints, Kansas City, and Detroit, is probably really tired right now.
Talking with Casey Joyner here on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill. So on one of the things, other takeaways, Casey, from Sunday for the Eagles and the Packers, which we're talking about right now, the Eagles defense played at a high level. I mean, 3 interceptions they had in the game. And by the way, Casey, yesterday was the 7-year anniversary when the Eagles beat the Falcons 15-10 when they went to the Super Bowl. So it's kind of like deja vu, Casey, because I remember after that game 7 years ago, Nick Foles stinks. This offense is horrible. How are they going to ever win a championship? And the same thing the next day with the Eagles. Jalen Hurts didn't throw the ball enough. He's rusty. What are we doing? And it's like, hold on, guys. The defenses are holding people to 10 points in a playoff game. That should be the conversation, right, Casey?
It should. And look, I mean, Hurts, I got sacked twice. Okay. No interceptions. Yeah, only 6.2 yards per attempt. But when he threw vertical passes, his passes traveling 11 more yards downfield, 2 of 4 for 39 yards, 9.8 yards per attempt, 1 touchdown, 124 passer rating. Solid. You're not throwing the ball very often, but compare that to Jordan Love. Jordan Love, 2 of 7 on vertical passes, 45 yards, 6.4 yards per attempt, 2 interceptions, a 14.3 passer rating. Hey, if you can say, we're only going to throw vertical a little bit, we're going to be really successful when we do it, and you're going to throw vertical and you're not, and you add that to, oh, yeah, by the way, we stopped the run really well and we run the ball really well. Yeah, I'm looking at going, okay, that's a formula I like. So one thing I like about this Eagles team, I've been saying it frequently, that the Eagles have, looking at all the teams in the playoffs, they have more pass to victory than anybody else in the NFL. Not just in the conference, but they can run to win, they can pass to win, they can stop the run, they can rush the passer, they can win on special teams. Every other team in the league that's still around can win in some of those. I don't know that any other team can win as effectively in all of those as Philadelphia. And we saw that on display against Green Bay. Hey, we can win with a really good run defense still. We don't have to have great pass.
Moving forward, how does the Eagles defense match up with the teams left in the NFC bracket? That being the Rams this Sunday, and then on the other side of the bracket is the Lions and the Washington Commanders. So is the Eagles defense good enough to give those teams problems as well?
The thing is, if you're going up against Washington and Detroit, I mean, Detroit scored 564 points this year. They had, they said scoring 30 points is nothing for that offense. But if you're facing a Fangio defense that's this talented, I know it would be in Detroit if that matchup happened, but it's a really tough defense to face. It's a really creative defense to face. And I keep looking at going, I like the matchup against that because I look at Jared Goff and multiple times this year. My wife's we're originally from Michigan, so my wife's a Lions fan, and we'll watch the game, and it's just Goff just makes mistakes that make her think of Chris Osgood making mistakes for the Red Wings back in the day. And the
goaltender, you pulled out the goaltender.
The goaltender, yeah, Chris Osgood would leave his crease. That's why they have the trapezoids, because Osgood would leave his crease and leave Detroit in a bad way, and she still hates him. Not hate him, but she's still frustrated about it to this day.
The guy won a Stanley Cup.
I could have won more. But he stayed.
Could have won more. Okay,
that's Goff. Goff is Ozzy. Even if you love him, you go, boy, he's doing all these great things. He will make those mistakes. He still does. There's so many times you look at that and go, that's what the thing is. Everybody's gonna get frustrated with the Eagles offense. You got Hurts, and he's playing. He's hitting the big plays and not. Okay, I might take a sack or two, but I'm not gonna make these stupid plays. Not gonna throw interceptions. If he's doing that, and Goff is making the mistakes that he's been making throughout the year. Okay, I'll take that for the Eagles. That's one thing they put. The Hurts don't. I'm not saying Hurts don't lose the game for us. Hurts, you could still win the game. Running, you could still win the game. Passing, you still do a lot for us. But we just need you to make sure that you don't lose the game. You'll plenty of opportunities to win, but just don't lose the game. If you do that, the way we play defense and run the ball, we're gonna go somewhere.
See, it's fascinating you said that because I got grilled for this earlier, Casey. So I ranked the 8 remaining quarterbacks in the playoffs, and I have Jared Goff at 7. Because you mentioned the mistakes, the fact that like the Texans game, for example, like this guy he's not going to be the best quarterback on the planet. He's going to be a guy who, when he executes the offense Ben Johnson gives him, he does very well. And I said, look, if I had to choose, 2 minutes left in the game, tie game, NFC Championship on the line, give me Jalen Hurts, give me Jaden Daniels over Jared Goff, because I feel like Goff is going to only be as good as the people around him.
He got rattled in that Super Bowl, and I'm reading a book by Michael Silver. It's called The Why is Everything, and it's about the whole McVay-Shanahan revolution in the NFL. And at one point, though, they mentioned about Jared Goff, and it was McVay saying, I can't say exactly what he said. It's not radio-friendly, but he said this play will work if Goff doesn't mess it up. I think there's another word he used, but he said that he was like, look, he didn't have faith. He's like, I don't have faith that this guy can do it. I think Goff is a perfect fit for what Detroit wants to do. Detroit is hey, we're going to push our foot to the floor. He's kind of I question to say this. He's not a Brett Favre type in the sense that he's as good as Favre, but he's that kind of Favre would sometimes just go, what, I'm gunslinger. I'm just going to throw this ball downfield. Sometimes Goff does that. And you look at the other quarterbacks out there and you go, okay, all of them have some of that, but they've got most of it under control. Goff doesn't. And I think Dan Campbell's like, fine, you go ahead and be that gunslinger. Do what you do. It fits who we are as a team. So he's a perfect fit from that perspective. But if you're looking at it from a percentages perspective, you go, no, that's not what we want. I think actually, put it this way: if you put Jalen Hurts on Detroit and you put Jared Goff in Philadelphia, I think Philadelphia will be a much worse team than they are, because I think he'd be making some mistakes that Kellen Moore couldn't coach him out of.
Talk with Casey Joyner, being brought to you today by Cooper University Healthcare. We're doing something extraordinary for families down the shore. All right, Casey, as we wrap up the segment, let's knock out the other 4 games we have not hit on yet. I mentioned Jaden Daniels in passing. He leads them down the field. They doink it in. I mean, I never heard of a doink in, but there you go. It's like a bank shot, and Washington wins their first playoff game since they were called another name in 2005.
It's incredible that they've gone that far for what that team was for so long. It was such a powerhouse team. The Bucks, I'm like, okay, the Bucks, you didn't win, and they're, it's like, like the Bucks are really frustrated they lost. They're like, you guys lost. This is a really good team that you lost to. And look at Daniels, though, very, very good, but 36 yards. He leads the team in rushing. And I know Tampa has a really good run defense. So look at that going. That's a weakness for them going forward. They're able to get through here, but I just got to wonder if they might be you got that one win. I rank them 6th out of the remaining, maybe even 7th, or 7th or 8th out of the remaining playoff teams, because they got that win, but that was against a somewhat limited Bucs team.
Earlier in the day on Sunday, the Bills, they were down 7-0, Casey. I mean, Bo Nix made an amazing pass. The throw to the end zone was amazing. They were up 7-0, and Josh Allen said, "Where's my cape? I'm going to win this game." The Broncos never had a chance the rest of the game, Casey, as the Bills pulled away 31-7.
The format for Denver was, I thought this would be closer than it was, and it was. Hey, it's 13-7 until late in the third quarter. I mean, it's still a close game. It's not, Denver's one play away from taking the lead, but never could get the offense going. Knicks couldn't get much going. You think about it. They got Cortland Sutton, and they've got a hodgepodge of running backs. Again, Knicks led his team in rushing with 43 yards. They don't have enough power on offense. A good defense, but the defense will get wore down eventually Buffalo. So I was surprised that Denver didn't play a little bit better than they did. But in Buffalo, this shows, hey, they put up 30 points. You don't think anything of it because just how good they are. And imagine, and that was against a good defense. I think it's Baltimore. Baltimore's got good defense too. I think it's going to be a fun game there. But I think Buffalo can make, like you said, Detroit. They just like Detroit, put up 31, not think anything of it.
You mentioned Baltimore. Baltimore beats Pittsburgh 28-14. I think Derrick Henry is still running, Casey. He had 186 rushing yards. Lamar made the comment after the game that he's a freak, is Derrick Henry, as the Ravens advance to the next round.
The funny thing, I talked about Ted's article earlier. The funny thing is that the type of defense the Steelers were playing, they basically say, I mean, if they're going to run option, it's like, okay, do you want Derrick Henry running the ball, or do you want Lamar Jackson running the ball? Who do you want running the ball? The Steelers almost every time said, we want Lamar Jackson running the ball. And mind you, Jackson gained 15 rushes for 81 yards. So okay, that's the bad alternative. And then you can run the plays outside zone, other things to give Henry the ball too, to get 26 for 186. So the Steelers made it clear that that's what we want, and it didn't work for them. They're very undisciplined. They look rattled though too. And the Steelers, that's the 8th highest rushing yardage total in a playoff game in NFL history. 8th highest. I mean, they had 300. They were one of only 8 teams to allow 300 or more until Jackson kneeled down on the last play to get 299. But Steelers got some big problems on defense. And again, they only rushed for 29 yards. That's just terrible. So, but Baltimore, that's what they can do. Power football, they can grind a team out, and they changed the dynamic of that matchup there. And I think Buffalo's going to have their hands full because the Ravens can run that well against anybody.
Houston Texans were the first game on Saturday, Casey, and I think the Houston Texans embodied the Rodney Dangerfield of the NFL. They had nobody respects us. They went out there and they took down a Chargers team I think a lot of people had high expectations for in this postseason.
Texans haven't handled bully ball very well. In the first quarter, it's 6-0 after a couple of field goals. The Chargers got close and they couldn't quite get moving on. They got inside the red zone a couple of times and things in that were close to the red zone, and they didn't get quite much done. And I think as the game started to progress, J.K. Dobbins has been a good back and things, but the Texans had a good game plan to stop him. Like rushed for 9 carries for 26 yards for the whole game. Once they saw, hey, this Dobbins thing isn't working, they can't run the ball well, we can stop the run. Now you can sit back and stop the pass. McConkey catches 9 for 197 yards. McConkey's good. You can't funnel your passing game through just one receiver. You got to have something more than that. And the thing is, eventually Herbert throws all the picks and such because he got rattled. I think the Texans started to realize that the Chargers are kind of one-trick pony, and the Texans weren't. By the way, though, the Texans, if they bring that same energy level, because sometimes late in the year it looked like they were like, we're not, not that fired up and things, not that motivated. Yeah, you could do it for the playoff game. I think I'd do it one more time. If they go into Kansas City and they play at that energy level, and Kansas City plays at some of the level they were playing later in the year, the Chiefs might have their hands full in that one.
Casey, before I let you go, of the teams that lost this weekend, the Chargers, the Steelers, the Broncos, the Packers, the Tampa Bay Bucks, and the Minnesota Vikings, who do you have the most faith in going into next season?
Going into next season, I would have to say, I'd have to say, let me think here for a second, because I have to say Chargers, to be honest. The Packers, I've got some issues with there, and Tampa. All those teams. As far as, let me put it this way, the team that I think could take it to another level, the Vikings could, but they got the quarterback problems, and Tampa's iffy, and Denver still has some weakness in things. I'll take the Chargers because if they get Dobbins fully healthy, I think Herbert's a better quarterback than what he showed. And Harbaugh knows what kind of team he wants. They're not too far away from being the type of team that he wants. I think the other teams are already either where they're supposed to be, either them or Denver. Because if Denver adds some good offensive talent, I think Bo Nix can be an MVP candidate.
You can follow Casey on Blue Sky at Casey Joyner, also on the Twitter X platform at Casey Joyner TFS. Check out all of his work in The Athletic, of course. And, of course, Casey will be back on Thursday as we will preview the divisional round of the NFL playoffs. Casey, great stuff today.
Thanks. Appreciate it, Josh.
Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill here on 97.3 ESPN FM. And, of course, Casey Joyner's segment was brought to you by Cooper University Healthcare. We're doing something extraordinary for families down the shore. We got texts to get to coming up on the other side at 609-403-0973. Dan and EHC, your texts and more to get to. Also, for today's Big Three, Darius Slay had some interesting comments about the Eagles' offense. Get to that and more coming up next. Josh Hennig hanging out with you live in the Ocean Casino Resort studios of Atlantic City, where the Fanatics Sportsbook is there not just football season, but for basketball and hockey season as well. So go to the gallery, go to Ocean, go for the win. For more information, visit theoceanac.com. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. More Sports Bash coming up on a Tuesday edition, 5:25, here on 97.3 ESPN.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
When I'm driving, I got a guy on the radio who talks to me. I can't see him, but he talks to me.
On 97.3 ESPN.
Happy New Year from Brawley's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. With energy prices on the rise, don't pay more than you should to heat your home this winter. Upgrade to more efficient equipment with 0% financing. Utility rebates up to $1,500 and no money down. Need heater service or repairs? Mention their first-time customer special for $25 off. As a factory-authorized Bryant dealer, Broadly does whatever it takes for your comfort. So give them a call today at 609-390-3907.
Progressive presents Renter's MVP's Most Valuable Possessions. Today's MVP, Joe Fallon's bedroom mini fridge. Sure, this pint-sized chiller's max capacity is 3 soda cans, but what it lacks in stature, it makes up in cooling strength. Each beverage a perfect 37 degrees every time. And the 2 feet Joe walks to get a drink, priceless. That's why his mini fridge is today's MVP. Keep your most valuable possessions protected by bundling your renters and auto insurance with Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers not available in all states.
Hey, AI, how many touchdowns did the Eagles score in the 2023 season?
The Eagles scored 49 touchdowns in the 2023 season.
Hey, AI, I had a fall recently. I need to recover. Please help me walk again.
I'm sorry, but that is beyond my capabilities.
Hey, AI, my parents are getting older and I can't care for them by myself. Can you help me care for them?
I'm sorry, that is beyond my capabilities. AI will never replace care, but here's what I found for the best care near you.
Autumn Lake Healthcare Centers, trusted leaders in skilled nursing rehabilitation and senior care, and proud partners of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Did you know that 1 in 4 people seeking treatment for ED are under 40? HIMS can help. Get started at hims.com/joy. Through hims.com, you can access a full range of treatment options for ED, including daily or as-needed meds through a 100% online process. To start your free online visit and save up to 95%, go to hims.com/joy.
There she is, founder and CEO. High five.
Dave can't stop celebrating with every business owner in town.
All right, Baker Man, high five.
He's sharing the excitement of big savings with the Comcast Business 5-year price lock guarantee.
Up top, Bike Shop.
Yeah. It's 5 years of gig speed internet.
Quick, high five.
5 years of advanced security.
5 years.
And 5 years of a great rate that won't change.
Yeah, law partners. Chamberlain, Messethorpe, Dubois.
All from the company with 99.9% network reliability. Switch today and get the 5-year price lock guarantee.
5 years.
It's back, but only for a limited time. Woo! Powering 5 years of savings, powering possibilities. Comcast Business.
Can't forget you, voiceover guy.
Ah, thanks, Dave.
High five!
Ends 3/9/25. Guaranteed rate applies to monthly service charge for new customers on qualifying internet bundle, excluding taxes and fees. Other restrictions apply.
Shop now at the Home Depot and save on select appliances like Frigidaire. The Home Depot. How doers get more done. Pricing valid January 9 through the 29th, 2025.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
Progressive Insurance presents the Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN. NBA, the Sixers hosting the Oklahoma City Thunder tonight. The Thunder have the best record in the Western Conference. They have won 12 of their last 13 games. Philadelphia coming off a loss Sunday to the Orlando Magic, and they have dropped 5 of 7. Flyers back on the ice tonight. They're in Columbus to take on the Blue Jackets. Back-to-back games. Philadelphia beat Florida Monday night 4-3, getting 2 goals from Noah Coates in the third period. Morgan Frost also lit the lamp for Philadelphia. They have won 2 in a row. The Eagles will face the LA Rams on Sunday in the NFC Divisional Round. Rams beating Minnesota Monday night. They've won 6 of their last 7. While the Eagles, who beat the Rams in Week 12, 37-20, will proceed in the postseason without linebacker Nakobe Dean, who suffered a knee injury against Green Bay. Progressive Insurance, bundle auto and home, renters or condo, and save with Progressive. I'm Tony Desiri, and that's your Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest, the last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers? eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying, just beautiful.
Whatever you love, find it on eBay. eBay. Things people love.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. The weather story for tonight and tomorrow: wind plus cold, our favorite wintertime combination. Watch for a few clouds this evening, then clear and breezy overnight. Low 23, the wind chill closer to 10. Tomorrow gets even windier, sunny and cold, high 32, wind chill might be stuck in the teens. Thursday will be better with lighter winds, partly to mostly cloudy, maybe a late day snow shower, high 31. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
Every choice you make matters. Whether you're dining out, grabbing takeout from your favorite local spot, or shopping for that perfect outfit at a neighborhood boutique, you're giving back to your community. It's not just about supporting businesses, it's about strengthening connections and keeping your community vibrant. Town Square Media South Jersey is proud to shine a spotlight on local businesses that make our area special.
Health Source Acupuncture Integrated Medicine, helping people with today's most challenging chronic and complex health conditions. HealthSourceAcupuncture.com. Broadleys is your local source for plumbing, heating, and air conditioning service and installation since 1911. Call 609-390-3907 or visit broadleys.net. First Bank of Sea Isle, Cape May County's community bank. Hot Bagels, your local bagel store. Always fresh, always delicious. Storybook Land. Create your own story at Storybook Land.
Thank you for supporting your local businesses from Town Square Media, South Jersey.
We have the perfect solution for sitting in traffic.
You come with me.
The Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
Josh Hennig here in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios on 97.3 ESPN. Before we get to what Darius Slay had to say about the Eagles' offense, as promised, I wanted to check in on the text board at 609-403-0973. Also, don't forget your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea City. And yes, we are live on my YouTube channel at Josh Hennig. I'll be filling in for Mike Gill again tomorrow here on 97.3 ESPN. And then on Thursday, there will be Pete G and Ryan Rothstein got you live from Chickies and Pete's in, where's the schedule? EHT. They'll be in the EHT Chickies and Pete's on Thursday. So you got me today and tomorrow, and then you got Ryan and Pete G filling in for Mike Gill from 2 to 6 here on 97.3 ESPN. They'll be on Thursday. But I do got a pretty cool guest for you guys tomorrow. We got Tony Banks, the former NFL quarterback, joining the show tomorrow at 5 p.m. So looking forward to getting his insights on a bunch of different stuff with the Eagles and NFL quarterbacks. But before we get to anything else, as promised, text board is where Dan and EHT chimes in at 609-403-0973. He says, Josh, who are the Eagles going to play in the NFC Championship game? Also, is Hurts the weak link, or do people not realize that he's the ultimate captain and the reason why they are where they're at? Well, those are two different questions. I want to address the second one first because I don't think Hurts is the weak link. You heard Casey Joyner mention it about 20 minutes ago, that if you swapped Jared Goff and Jalen Hurts, that the Eagles would not be as good with Goff because a lot of what the Eagles do is based off of what Jalen Hurts can do. And it's not that Jared Goff is a bad quarterback, but it's the idea that Jared Goff has limitations. And I think the problem is that the only way you get to a championship when you don't have a quarterback that has some sort of dynamic ability is if you have something about your team that is the elite of the elite. So here's what I mean by that. If you go back and look at teams like the Baltimore Ravens in 2000 or the Tampa Bay Bucks in 2002, those defenses were elite. Like, those defenses are in the conversation for the greatest of all time. So they were able to overcome the fact that their starting quarterbacks in the biggest game of the year were for the Bucks, Brad Johnson, and for the Ravens, Trent Dilfer. Those quarterbacks were quarterbacks who were there to not lose you the game, then necessarily win you the game. Otherwise, you don't need the greatest quarterback in the world, but there has to be something about your quarterback that is unique or special or dynamic. For example, when the Washington then Redskins, now Commanders, won 3 different Super Bowls with 3 different quarterbacks, it was because each of those quarterbacks had something about their game that led that team to be able to be successful. You know, Joe Theismann, he was a league MVP. He was a franchise quarterback before he got his leg broken, his career ended by Lawrence Taylor. You have a guy in Doug Williams who was a high-level prospect coming out of college, but he went to a horrible team in the Tampa Bay Bucks, and he always had a big, powerful throwing arm. And he was a guy that the Washington, under Joe Gibbs as their head coach, basically said, look, I am going to run the ball, and I'm going to use play action with this dude who's got a howitzer for an arm to throw it deep down the field with my talented receivers. And then Mark Rippon was a similar concept where you had a quarterback who could spread the ball around, who could sling it all over the field, and he said, I'm going to lean into his strengths. And football history is full of that. You don't need always the best quarterback in the league. You need a quarterback who has something dynamic to him that is going to allow you to show through in a big moment. And the question with Jared Goff is, what is that special trait? What is it about Jared Goff that is going to shine through in the biggest moment? Jalen Hurts has shown you in the biggest game of the year, 2 years ago in the Super Bowl, that he is able to be dynamic. His passing plus throwing ability, his running plus passing ability, the combination makes him dangerous. Now, yes, he's not as freakishly athletic as Lamar Jackson is, but Jalen Hurts is still athletic enough where if he runs sparingly, he will throw a defense off kilter, which will open the opportunity for him to go for those big plays, whether it would be a intermediate route like the Dallas Goedert the other day where he ran for the touchdown, or it would be a deep shot to A.J. Brown or Devonta Smith, whatever the scenario is. And that brings us to our first soundbite from Darius Slay. And on the Big Play Slay podcast, he made this comment about Jalen Hurts I thought was very, very interesting, Dan EHT. And I think it kind of leans into what you are saying about how Jalen Hurts is part of the reason why the Eagles are here. Here's Slay explaining what he saw from Jalen Hurts on Sunday.
First drive after the turnover, sit back in the pocket, doing nice. I can tell you now, he has getting very more poised as the year getting older. Like, he's becoming way more poised every year. Like, the old Jalen, with a SARS little space right there, stepped up and ran. You know what I'm saying? But now he stepped up, be patient. Like, hey, one thing he do know is the DBs can't cover forever. And it's always a clock going in his mind, like, okay, 1 minute, 2 minutes, got to get rid of. But he felt the surroundings, like, oh, I'm still good.
That's an amazing insight, because that is a big-time example from a player who has played with Jalen his entire tenure. Remember, the Eagles got Jalen Hurts in the 2020 NFL draft, and they acquired Darius Slay for the 2020 season. So Slay has seen every step of Hurts' evolution from day one to now. And he says, look, the old Jalen Hurts would have just run. But now he's saying, oh, I got time to throw. Let me be patient and let this play work itself out and throw it to Jahan Dotson. It's a great insight about why Hurts is a very good quarterback. Again, he's not Josh Allen. He's not Patrick Mahomes. Okay? He's not Lamar Jackson. But there's not a huge gap between him and the best quarterbacks in this league. It's not like there's this huge chasm. And I think that, yes, I understand that Jared Goff was the number 1 overall pick in the 2016 NFL draft. But he was the number 1 pick because he has arm talent. Not because he is a high-level quarterback. If he was such a high-level quarterback, why would Sean McVay want to replace him with Matthew Stafford, a guy who people perceived as a loser in Detroit? Because Matthew Stafford has more intangibles and skills than Jared Goff does. Goff is a guy who has very, very, very good skills, but none of them are elite. And the problem is, if you're a jack of all trades, you're the master of none. And if you're the master of none, what's special about you? What differentiates you from everybody else? Now, the Dan and EHC's question about who will play in the championship game versus the Eagles. I mean, the working assumption is the Detroit Lions, but I would not be surprised if Washington goes to Detroit and beats them, because Washington has 2 things going for them. Number 1, the Commanders are going in with 0 pressure. They don't have any pressure on them. They already won their playoff game. They can play free. They can be themselves. And that's a dangerous team. When you have someone who has nothing to lose and everything to gain, then you have the Lions who have everything to lose. It's a big, big difference. And I got to wonder how much pressure is on the Lions to go in there and get this job done. And do they get a little tight? Do they get a little nervous? You know, I mentioned earlier about how the Lions almost lost that Texans game earlier this year. And if it wasn't for the Texans also imploding themselves, Detroit would probably be 14-3 right now at least. And that doesn't count the game where Matt Eberflus choked away the game for the Detroit Lions, for the Chicago Bears, that eventually got him fired on after Thanksgiving Day. That doesn't count the fact that they barely beat the Packers earlier this year. That's 2 Thursday night games they theoretically could have lost. So it's not that the Lions are an indestructible team. And I think that for Washington, they got the quarterback and they got the players who are just fearless enough to potentially make it very difficult for the Detroit Lions. So while my working assumption is it will be the Lions versus the Eagles in the championship game, I wouldn't be surprised if it's Washington at all because of who Washington is. I mentioned that Darius Slay had more to say about the Eagles' offense. Well, today on the Big Three, Darius Slay went on to talk about this stuff with A.J. Brown. And Slay gets some very interesting insights because for those who, have heard the rumblings, why is A.J. Brown reading a book in the middle of a game? He even said after the game, he's like, why do you all always wonder if I'm mad or upset? He's like, I'm not. But Slay wanted to address it, and he gave up some interesting insights about A.J. Brown reading books on the sideline during a game.
A.J. reading a book on the sideline. I'm trying to tell y'all, that's common for A.J. He a guy that, like to keep his temper, he like the guy just to keep himself mellow. AJ just got high standard for himself and for that offense. Like, AJ don't want to score every possession. So he gets a little, you know what I'm saying, like every player do. He get a little frustrated. So for him to get out of hand and go crazy, he reads a little message that reminds himself to calm himself down. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, hey, could be worse.
First of all, I love the part at the end. It could be worse, all right? What Slay is basically telling you is, hey, it's really not that bad this guy is out there reading a book, okay? That's number one. Number two, I like how he looked at it as it was like not a big deal. He himself is saying, this really isn't that big a deal, guys. More from the Big Play Slay podcast on A.J. Brown.
Some people go with crazy lunatics. I'm not seeing people break helmets and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of good to see him just sit there and read a book and da-da-da. And people are like, oh, he's doing that because he only got one catch for 10 yards. Look, we played Washington. And this is I think it's like my third time seeing him do it. Like, I was in Washington. As I run into the sideline, I see him with the book in his hand again and just reading it. And for you to think that's a problem, I think he had like 15 targets that game.
So in the game where he got all those passes from Kenny Pickett and they end up losing to Washington in the end, A.J. Brown sitting there reading a book in between plays. It was right in between downs. So, and Slay also said this is the third time in Washington that he saw him in the book. So that means there's 4 times at least people have seen him do it. So it really does dispel this idea that Eagles offense are doing well. Slay's reading a book. Brown's reading a book. And you heard Slay say, look, this guy got all these targets in this game, and he's still reading this stinking book. So this is part of who A.J. Brown is. And maybe A.J. Brown is just a quirky dude. Final point from the Big Play Slay podcast.
It's not that he's up here as he got an attitude, that he ain't getting the rob. It's more like him saying, like, damn, offense, like, let me get right before I goddamn crash out around here because we ain't doing what we need to be doing because we should be scoring every possession. So that's all that really is with him. It's not no, like, selfishness because A.J. is far from selfish.
A.J. is far from selfish. In fact, A.J. Brown takes pride in his blocking. So it's a very interesting to hear a teammate's perspective on the A.J. Brown stuff because that's a player in his own locker room, but also a player who's not another receiver or Jalen Hurts saying, because, you know, one of the things that happens a lot is if you ever watch those documentaries about, like, teams in the past, you know, if you watch the New York Stock Exchange about the Jets players, right? The Jets defensive line that was dominant for those few years. Or you go back and watch those documentaries about the Cowboys of the 90s. You go back and watch, you know, the Ravens documentary about their championship year with the great defense. The players on the other side of the ball have a very weird perspective of the other guys on their team. And historically in football, you know, defensive and offensive players don't see eye to eye on much. But in this case, Slay is like, hey, man, I look at what A.J. Brown is doing as a positive. He ain't blowing up. He ain't going crazy. He's just doing what he does. And I think that, you know, at the end of the day, the idea that you have a player on your own team willing to say that much about you in the positive sense probably says a lot more about A.J. Brown than you guys realize. All right, before we wrap up the show, I got text coming in on the text board, 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea City. Don't forget Sixers basketball tonight as they take on the Oklahoma City Thunder right here with Tom McGinnis calling all the action starting at 7 p.m. on 97.3 ESPN.
It's Sixers basketball tonight on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the Sixers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
Yabusele in, Maxey for 3. It's up and good. Oh, yeah! He's been known with the prolific fourth quarters.
It's Sixers Thunder tonight. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. It's Sixers basketball all season long on South Jersey's radio home for Philadelphia 76ers basketball. 97.3 ESPN.
The best call to make on game day is ordering catering from the Piccalilli Inn. For parties big or small, the Pick does it all. Your guests will be cheering for the Pick spin on football favorites like pulled pork nachos, cheesesteaks, burgers, and their award-winning buffalo wings, tails, and ears. Get your chicken wing fix on Route 206 at the Piccalilli Inn. Join the flock and follow the Pick on Facebook or at Piccalilli.com for their Pick game specials. And be sure to pre-order to guarantee your spot in Sunday's lineup.
T-Mobile 5G home internet keeps getting better. Get our fastest connection loaded with benefits. Get T-Mobile's best home internet starting at $55 a month with auto pay and any voice line. Plus, Price Lock. We won't raise your rate on internet. Check availability at T-Mobile.com/home internet.
Exclusions like taxes and fees apply. Guarantees regular monthly rate plan price of fixed wireless 5G internet data with qualifying service. After $15 bill credit with postpaid voice line plus $5 a month without auto pay with debit or bank account. Regulatory fees included for qualifying accounts. $35 connection charge applies. Speeds vary due to factors affecting cellular networks.
Hey, if you have ugly yellow toe fungus, you gotta hear about the secret 2-minute trick that I found for my husband. It works from both the inside and the outside. Thousands of people are using it to get rid of their toe fungus. You can check it out at crystalflush.com. Jake started off with a small spot on his big toe and then it spread and got really bad. His toes were nasty. It was so embarrassing. He was afraid to take his socks off. He hid his yellow and crumbly toes from everyone. He tried everything to get rid of it. Nothing helped. And then we found crystalflush.com. It was the only thing that worked. In just a few weeks, his toes looked amazing. He's now walking around barefoot again. You guys need to try this. I'm telling you, this stuff is different. It's not sold in stores, but go check it out at crystalflush.com. They'll even let you try it risk-free so you have nothing to lose. But whatever you do, don't let it get worse. You don't have to live with this anymore. Go check it out now. Just click over to crystalflush.com.
Okay, I have to tell you. I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest, the last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers? eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying, just beautiful.
Whatever you love, find it on eBay. eBay, things people love.
The Eagles are headed to the playoffs. Congratulations to the entire Eagles organization. It's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. We're proud to be the official sports bar of the Philadelphia Eagles. Come join us for all the Eagles playoff action and the best in-game experience anywhere. Ice-cold draft beer, all of your Chicky and Pete's favorites, and of course, world-famous crab fries. Perfect for Eagles playoffs. Go where the players go. The official sports bar of the Philadelphia Eagles, Chickies and Pete's. Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. Wrap up your workday with the all-new Chickies and Pete's Happy Hour with unbeatable specials weekdays from 4 to 6 p.m. Enjoy half-price orders of Chickies medium tender wings, one of our tasty and delicious pizzas, or an order of mouth-watering hot, cold, or fried shrimp. Plus $3 domestic bottled beers, $5 Tito's, and $6 seltzers. It's the all-new Happy Hour, weekdays 4 to 6 p.m., only at Chickies and Pete's.
Shop now at the Home Depot and get up to 35% off select appliances. Plus, save up to an extra $400 on select appliances like Frigidaire. From the stainless steel French door refrigerator with crisp steel drawers to keep produce fresh longer, to the 5-burner electric range that lets you cook more at once and get meals on the table faster. Right now, get up to 35% off select appliances like Frigidaire. The Home Depot. How doers get more done. Pricing valid January 9th through January 29th. U.S. only. See store online for details and minimum purchase required.
With GMF financing to qualified buyers excludes Traverse and Corvette excludes prior sales.
Start the new year right in a new Chevy from Bennett, where we sell new Chevys at the true GM supplier employee price. Yeah, you pay what our employees pay, not a penny more. Plus, at Bennett Chevrolet, you keep all the rebates. That's incredible. That's right, you save both ways, saving you up to 20% off the sticker. But it gets even better, because right now there's available 0.9% financing, saving you even more. 0.9! And get this, if you're looking for a pre-owned, Bennett Chevy will pay you a minimum $10,000 for any old clunker you can get here towards any pre-owned in stock. You'll get at least 10 grand for total junk. Imagine how much you'll get for a good trade. And one more thing, Bennett's sales team is paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. That makes a huge difference. No hype, no pressure. Together, let's drive. Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
You're listening to The Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
All right, wrapping up here, The Sports Bash. Josh Hennig filling in for Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN. I'll get you the Bet365 play of the day in just a moment, but I wanted to get to your guys' texts at 609-403-0973. Dan in EHC says, I have a feeling Jane Daniels turned the ball over 3 times. Hostile environment. The Commanders' D will look like Swiss cheese. I mean, I do agree. The defense is not great in Washington. But again, to me, it's less about the defense than it is about it's less about the Washington defense than about the Lions defense. George Summers Point chimes in and says, Josh, can you comment on why the league believes that Kellen Moore has done such a good job with the Eagles offense this year? I do not see anything he did that was stellar or outstanding. Listen, we've talked about this. I don't disagree with you, George. I think it's the idea that there's a lot of people who look at Kellen Moore not because of the job he did with Philadelphia, but because of how he handles himself as why he could be a head coaching candidate. But I tend to agree. I don't think anything he necessarily did was, oh man, this is the reason why this guy is great. And frankly, you probably shouldn't be hiring coaches based on how good they are coordinators anyway, because being great at calling plays doesn't always mean you're great at running an organization. Goody from Galloway chimes in and said, the Eagles have molded their offense around Jalen Hurts. They would have molded around Goff as well. Yeah, well, the difference is, though, is that when you mold it around somebody, you're leaning into their strengths. So what we're saying is Jalen Hurts' dynamics, his intangibles, are more dynamic and intangible than Jared Goff. I got Milwaukee covering the 2 at home versus the Kings tonight. That's my Bet365 play of the day. I'm Josh Hennig. Have a great night, everybody.
This is the home of Philadelphia Eagles playoff football. It's the NFC Divisional Round of the playoffs as the Eagles host the LA Rams this Sunday at the Link.
Nice catch by Goddard, who breaks the tackle across the 5. Touchdown!
Goddard, beast, pushes him in the face twice and into the end zone.
Eagles Radio Network coverage begins at 2 p.m. Merrill Reese and Mike Quick call all the action starting at 3 p.m. This is South Jersey's official home for Eagles playoff football. 97.3 ESPN.